All right, we'll call this regular meeting of the Board of Finance to order at 7:02 p.m. First item on the agenda is Pledge of Allegiance. I ask you all please stand. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Pardon me, my voice is failing me, but it's okay. I'm not contagious, I promise. We have a very full house tonight, which is very unusual for us, and we have a very long agenda. I will give everyone from the public who would like to comment up to 3 minutes to comment. I would also ask that if you feel that you are comfortable saying, I echo what someone else said, that would help us move this along. If we have everyone in the room talk, it will be 8:30 before we start our agenda. We'll be here till 11 or 12. And we're fine with that. We'll stay as long as you all would like, okay? So I don't want anyone to think that I am asking to quell public comment. I don't want anyone to think that their voice is not heard. I also want you to recognize that we have a long meeting to get through already, and we respect all of your input and everything you're going to do and say. So let's try and please be respectful of that, and let us get through what we've got to get through tonight. With that, I will open it up to comments from the public. If you are going to make comments from the public, I'd ask you come to the center of the area here and identify your name and where you live in Stonington, because these should be comments from Stonington residents, and then make your comments. So I'll open it up to comments from the public. I can't imagine there's none, so. I would also like to recommend that we make it from residents that are registered voters, because that's who we're trying to represent, but we will let anyone talk.
Good evening, my name is Jennifer Raymond. I live on Borodale Avenue in the Mystic part of Stonington. I am also 8th grade math teacher at Stonington Middle School, and I'm here to request that you vote in favor of using the approved bond money to purchase portable classrooms for the middle school. Now that it is apparent that the 204 Miss Tuxet building is no longer an option for the middle school due to the increasing and costly number of facility issues that are there, we have to move away from our current temporary situation at 40 Field Street into a situation that requires a much longer term commitment to both the education of the children of Stonington and the people that work there. Portable classrooms are part of that commitment. Stonington is a wonderful place to live. The public school system is a reflection of that, and families move into town in part because of our excellent public schools. Without the portable classrooms, Stonington Middle School will continue to suffer from overcrowding, large class sizes, no library media center, shared spaces for intervention and special education services, which should be provided in small focused groups. Decreasing amounts of instructional time as teachers must transition between classrooms and floors in the building regularly, and a continued decrease in, if I'm honest, the morale of the faculty and staff there, many of whom are Stonington residents. So please do not compromise the integrity of my job. Please do not put me and my fellow educators in this position, continuing to lack proper instructional settings and resources needed to best serve the students of Stonington. Please do not put the students and families of Stonington in a position where the education of their children is shortchanged due to a lack of resources. Please do not put the town of Stonington in a position where we have to explain to prospective residents and businesses why the middle school isn't the best school that it can be. Please vote in favor of using the bonded money for the purchase of the portable classrooms for the middle school. Thank you for your time.
My name is May McClenahan, and I'm almost a 5th grade student at West Vine Street School. I live at 110 Prince Williams Road in Stonington. I understand that today we are talking about the middle school getting portable classrooms. I bet you're all thinking, why is a 4th grader up here talking about the middle school? Well, I'll tell you. As my elementary school career comes to an end, I know that the next step for me will be middle school. I worry about what school will be like at Stonington Middle, especially without enough space for all of the students. My mom and dad are both teachers here in Stonington. My dad is a social studies teacher at Stonington Middle, and my mom is a music teacher at West Vine. My dad has been really positive when talking to me at home about the challenges that the middle school is facing. He's been a really good sport. But if I'm being honest, it makes me feel disappointed and worried about my future. My brand new big school at West Vine grants me so many opportunities to learn. We have a gigantic, beautiful library, an outdoor learning space, and spacious classrooms with exceptional supplies that make it easier and more exciting to learn. I just want to say that the middle school deserves better. They need more space so that the teachers can comfortably do their jobs and students can have a better learning environment. I've been through so much since kindergarten. I started kindergarten in 2020, right at the beginning of COVID. Please keep kids like me in mind when deciding whether or not to approve funding for portable classrooms at Stonington Middle School. Thank you for listening, and thank you for the job that you are doing for our town.
Good evening. My name is Carrie Cassidy. I live in Newport, Rhode Island, but I am a 6th grade science teacher at Stonington Middle School. Our middle school is already grappling with serious overcrowding at the Field Street site. It was stated at the public hearing on March 25th that portable classrooms would be purchased with bond money to ease this burden. But now, there's growing uncertainty about whether those funds will actually be used for the middle school as promised, or if they will be redirected for other town projects. This lack of clarity erodes trust. Our students and educators deserve more than vague assurances. They deserve a commitment, a public and transparent commitment that addresses the realities we face every day. Crowded hallways, limited instructional space, and growing class sizes that directly impact learning. As educators, we work tirelessly to give every student the attention and support they need. But we can't do that effectively if the resources meant to help us are continually postponed, repurposed, or left in limbo. I urge the board and town leadership to prioritize transparency and follow through on commitment to our schools. We can't build a better future for our children by balancing budgets on their backs. Thank you.
I'm going to start my timer because I have been known to go over.
Don't worry, Nick, I've got some time to go.
So I'm Nick Keppel, I'm the chair of the, I don't know how to start my timer. Anyway, you'll tell me. I'm the chair of the Mystic River Park Implementation Committee, who've been at our task for about 10 years now. So I'm here to ask on behalf of the committee and behalf of the community that you utilize the monies that are available, may be available if they're transferred, to help us close the gap. We're about 4% shy, by our calculation the other night. The project, it's about an $8 million project. It's a remarkable, local, state, federal, public, private. The Stonington Community Rowing has raised over $2 million. It's just an unbelievable example of cooperation and collaboration at all levels. It also culminates 28 years of a rowing program in the community, and the Mystic Seaport's been an incredible host, but not this project affords us to have a home. But it's more than just the boathouse, even though the boathouse will be, in my view, transformational. We have, a park. We're going to have a small but mighty park to give people passive access to the river, and then through a dock that will be at the site, people will be able to access the Mystic River. And we get spoiled and it's easy to take for granted, the blessings we have, like the Mystic River and the Parker River. But it's an extraordinary resource, and this project is going to afford not just the rowers to get out onto the Mystic River, but the community as well. So it's going to change the visual of the entry point to Mystic and to our community. Right now, you can go from Old Mystic to, the bridge and not see the Mystic River. So it's going to open up the river. It's going to give access. It's going to improve home values, property values in Stonington, and transform people's lives. I could talk for hours about how across the 28 years, how young people's lives have been impacted by being rowers, and it's been unbelievable. I can vouch for myself. My 3 daughters all rowed, and it changed their lives. So I would ask, on behalf of all those people for 28 years who've made such the rowing in Stonington what it's become, and the 500 people that voted at a town meeting for the project to help us get across the finish line. Thank you so much.
Other comments from the public?
Ashley Toole, I live on Whitaker Drive in Stonington. Obviously, I'm here tonight, as I've been before you guys numerous times, requesting that the Board of Education's request for the bond that the residents voted on in thoughts that this money would be going for exactly what is being requested gets approved by the Board of Finance. Those rowers that he's talking about, they're going to be coming up, they're going to be going through our middle school. The future that they're planning for there is the future we're trying to plan for in their education. Their daily education through grades 6 through 8. It's not working. This year, they made it work. Not in any way that was overly successful. It had classrooms, multiple classrooms and a cafeteria at a time. It had no library. As a taxpayer, I'm sitting here saying, we look at the Mistuxet site. The amount of money, we need to fix the building so it's usable to some extent. But the amount of money that would cost to fix that building for the middle school students to return at full capacity is too much of an investment from the way it's turning out. The issues that keep arising there, it's not just the floor structure being fixed, the HVAC to have the air quality that would be needed, the fire systems need to be updated. I would prefer that school, it's closer to my house. But as a taxpayer, I'm looking and saying, what's the investment into that property? Is it worth investing into this property that has a potential useful life of up to 10 years? No, it's not. So right now we need to say, what are we going to do in the meantime? The big Band-Aid for the next few years as we try to figure out how to fix the issues from past administrations, from past Board of Finances in the middle school. So that is right now to take the portables. It's kind of like an all-in-one package. In order to split the classrooms, we need the portables. It doesn't make sense to split a classroom and not have the portables. All these things need to go together. So we need to fix the flooring there so we can keep our administration there. We don't need to be renting out space for that. We need to keep a few of our programs that we have there, and potentially we have the opportunity to maybe grow those programs. But our middle school students are going to be staying at 40 Field Street. And if they're going to be staying at 40 Field Street, they need more space. It's not even a question, and just I don't grasp the pushback that it feels that's happening when we have, it's the most fiscally responsible option when you look at it all, and it's what the students need. My kid will be there for another 2 years, and then I have a daughter who will be there for 3 years. They need the space, they need a library, they need a media center, they need all of these things to have those educational years be productive. So I ask that you guys please look at the totality. I don't think it's crazy what's being asked. We've been going through this. We voted for the bond because we thought we were finally going to be getting somewhere, and it seems like there's still some hesitancy on approving the bond that the residents went and voted on thinking this is what they were going to get. And there's no doubt that there was a pretty good turnout. So I just want to say that people showed up to vote for this purpose, and we're hoping that we can kind of start to get to that finish line. Thank you.
Hi. Board of Finance members, thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak.
Name and address.
My name is Allie Girallo, and I live at 23 Russell Avenue in Pawcatuck. I'm here to ask you to vote for the portables and the split classroom construction. My family is fairly new to Stonington, but our story has been told numerous times. We had purchased our home in Pawcatuck in 2022, and the plan was to use it for summer and family vacations. But we really, truly fell in love with the area, and especially the people. Everyone we talked to raved about the opportunities here at Stonington, and they were always so proud of the district. I honestly can't recall a single person I encountered that had a negative view. You see, this is a very different place than our old district in Pennsylvania. The district we came from didn't have enough space for classes. It required teachers to use carts filled to the top with materials. They closed the library so they could use it as a multi-purpose room. A room that was so unbelievably noisy that students couldn't concentrate. The special education had been relocated to another building, which minimized mainstream involvement and support of those teachers and paras. Does this sound familiar? This is exactly what's happening to Stonington. What resulted was a tremendous loss of instruction, loss of morale of the teachers and administration, and a lack of parental buy-in. In September in 2022, my husband and I sat down to watch a Stonington Board of Education meeting from Pennsylvania over YouTube. When the meeting was finished, we had our answer. We wanted our kids to receive an education in Stonington. It was a done deal. You had a parent buy-in immediately. Now next year, Pawcatuck Middle School will have all 3 of our children enrolled. Please pray for us. While we are new to the area, we have greatly involved ourselves in the community. I don't think there has been a month in the school year where I haven't participated in a classroom, PTO event, or activity. I've now witnessed the teachers at Pawcatuck Middle School, paras, and administrators pivot so drastically, and while doing it with enthusiasm and hope. But now it is time to provide them with what they need so they can educate our children. The space we have now doesn't allow for that. Thank you.
I'm Virginia McCormick. I live at 50 Renee Drive in Pawcatuck. In the last 3 years, since revaluation, our taxes have gone up 30%. My husband and I are in our mid-70s. Nevertheless, when we went in to vote on the town budget, we voted to approve it because we support this wonderful town and we support our school system. We voted to approve the bond issue because our understanding was that if the bond issue wasn't approved, then there was no chance of the portable classrooms being purchased. I can't imagine having a middle school that doesn't have a library or teachers having to share a space having 2 classrooms, 2 teachers in one space that is somehow separated. My kids have been out of the Stonington schools for 30 years, but they've done really well because of the education they received here. I want today's kids to do well too, but they need the tools that my kids had. So please purchase these portable classrooms to get the middle school up to speed. Give these kids a chance. Thank you.
Hello. My name is Nikki Short. I live at 6 High Ridge Court, and I'm here as a parent and advocate for Stonington Middle School students and staff. I'm speaking tonight in support of funding the 3 items proposed by the Board of Education under the $2 million bond allocation for the middle school. The purchase of portable classrooms to alleviate overcrowding, the division of a large classroom at 40 Field Street, and the necessary repairs to the 2nd-story floor at 204 Miss Tuxet Avenue. These are not luxury items. They are essential short and medium-term solutions to support safe, stable, and functional learning environments. When the Board of Education originally included the portables in the SIP, we were told by this board that pursuing a bond would be the faster and more appropriate path to getting the necessary funding. Parents and community members took that direction seriously. We advocated, we voted, and the town approved the bond. Now that the bond has passed, we're asking this board to honor that original guidance and support the use of this allocation as intended for students, teachers, and the long-term health of our district. The Board of Ed has made it clear they do not intend to return students to the Ms. Tuxet building, and the recent engineering report supports that stance. The repairs there are about safety, not about reoccupying a failing facility. Ms. Tuxet is not the future of our schools. It's a building we are responsibly winding down. Without the portables, the classroom split doesn't make sense, and without the classroom space, our teachers will continue to float, our language teachers will stay on carts, and we will still be without a proper library. These are fundamental issues impacting instruction every single day. I urge the board to fund all 3 of the Board of Ed's proposed items. This is not about temporary fixes. This is about protecting the educational experience of our middle schoolers while the town works toward a long-term facilities plan. Thank you for your time and continued service to the community.
Hi, my name is Abigail Cornell. I live at 37 Morgan Street in Pawcatuck. I also teach science at the middle school. I apologize if some of the things that I say are a little repetitive, and I'm not just agreeing. I think this stuff is all just really, really important to us, I guess. So I'm not sure how many people know this, but due to the reduction in the budget that we already faced going into next year, we did lose 2 core teachers at the middle school. So one of the many effects of this is class sizes are going to be increasing next year. I'm looking at numbers in my classes next year of 24 in all of my classes. Next year going forward, if we have new students arrive, that could be more. So while we always needed these portables to get by through the next year, these reductions have made the issue even more pressing in my mind. Because now we're just trying to fit more students into these tiny rooms. The portables are now more essential than ever to help us get through the next year with less teachers and more students to a room and still not enough rooms. I've also had other voters in town reach out to me asking about this, saying, hey, I'm confused. I thought I voted for this. Do I need to come vote for it again? So I think there would be some disappointment across many people in town who feel like they voted for money to go towards these middle school improvements, and if that didn't happen, that would definitely be disappointing for a lot of people. You know, we do our best, the teachers, we really do our best every day to make it look like everything is like perfectly hunky-dory, right? We don't complain to the students about what's going on. You know, we try to make it seem like their experience is as it would have been otherwise. But if we had to continue in the same state that we were in this year, into the next year, into the next year, I don't see how it's not going to become clear to the students that we are not able to provide them as much as we were before. I also have a daughter in kindergarten at West Vine Street. It's part of the reason that we moved into Stonington was the school district. I don't want her middle school experience to be the experience that I had this year with students. I want her to have a middle school experience just like I expect her to have a great West Vine experience and Stonington High School experience. I don't want there to be an asterisk on her time when she was at the middle school because, well, it was going through all the shifts and we just couldn't get the funding that we needed in the right place. And so anyways, I'm sorry if my thoughts are a little jumbled. I think that it would be really, really important to fund the portables. Thank you.
Other comments from the public? Hang on. Bruce was up first.
You want to go? You can go if you want to.
Bruce, you're already there.
All right, hello.
You're taller.
Yeah, I'm not tangling with you.
All right, my name is Bruce Yarnell. I'm a teacher. I live at 19 Clark Street in Westley. I'm also the teacher in Stonington High School Special Education. I've been doing that for 29 years. I'm also president of the local union of the Stonington teachers. One thing I'd like to echo Nick Keppel, please support the park. It'd be great for the whole community. Yes, I'm a former rowing coach, but that'd be great for the whole community. The town elected you and gave you the power and the responsibility to take care of the finances of the town. I urge you to trust the Board of Education and the town to do what's best for our schools and for our students. I've been here a long time. I've spoken to you guys before. You know that. I always say we can do better. Stonington can do better than the current situation we have. It's in your power to give the people what they want to improve the school system, to give us what we need so we can do our jobs more effectively. Again, I've been doing this for 29 years. Teachers work hard. Please give us the tools we need, the resources we need, and the environment we need for our students to be successful. Thank you.
Go ahead, Tracy.
Tracy Swain, Cortlandt Street, Pawcatuck. I would just like to echo Nick Keppel and hope that you guys would approve his request for tonight. Thank you.
Are there other comments from the public?
See? Under 3 minutes. I beat you, Nick.
That's not the bar you ought to be looking to beat.
Hi, my name is Christina Adair. I spoke to you back in March and spoke about how the Board of Education's budget should be funded in full, and unfortunately, it was pretty drastically cut. I also spoke about, I read the 171 pages of the proposed budget, and right, that's light reading for me. I'm an accountant, right? I make my money going through money. When we came to you in March, you said, hey, I said this has been removed from SIP, and you guys said it got removed from the SIP budget because we're putting it in a bond, and that's the way to do it. So I want to make sure that you are going to honor that commitment. The quotes were, right, that you said that, let me just go back, sorry. We understand that the current situation isn't acceptable at the middle school. The only way to make it acceptable is to fully fund the $2 million the Board of Education is asking for, and that was already committed to. We are not specifically only talking about portables, and Nikki and a few other people had mentioned. It includes other improvements at Field Street and Miss Tuxet, but those things have to happen and the bond has to come through. That's why the voters turned out. Some of us went door to door, we were leaving stuff on doors and in mailboxes, and the town came out and voted stronger for this budget than it had in the previous 3 years. We're asking that that gets funded in full because that was the commitment you gave to us in March. And we hope you follow through with that. Thank you.
Are there other comments from the public? Other comments from the public? Other comments from the public? Asking 3 times, hearing none. That item on the agenda is finished. Next item on the agenda is additional appropriations requests. We have none. We'll move on. Next item is bid waiver request. Can I get a motion to approve the bid waiver request from, is it Captain Schneider or is it Lieutenant Marley? Is the bid waiver request coming from Lieutenant Marley or Schneider? Okay. From Captain Schneider for the purchase. Huh?
Would you like to make an entrance?
I was going to say, that was dramatic, Captain Schneider. Well done. Can I get a motion to approve the bid waiver request from Captain Schneider for the purchase of the 3 vehicles from MHQ for $142,326.68? I got a motion, Bill. I got a second, Deb. Captain Schneider.
Thank you. You've heard this before. We're moving to purchase vehicles from MHQ, who we've been using for the last 20 plus years. The vehicles are purchased off of the state contract pricing, so we're not going to do much better. They're the exact same platform that we've been using since 2020 now. And not much has changed. Again, this is just for the vehicles. The upfitting comes through a separate vendor through Strobes and Moore. So we're just looking for the approval through MHQ tonight.
Questions from the board?
Is that the number that we had approved?
Correct, 3 vehicles, -1.
-1 this year.
-1 this year.
How much has it gone up? I'm curious, just.
They've gone up significantly. Each vehicle, I believe the marked vehicles are around 48,000 and change. Those are about a $4,000 increase from what we've seen in the last few years, and a significant bump since pre-COVID. About an $8,000 difference since then.
Right, but you're confident that we're not doing any better anywhere else?
We're not going to do better anywhere else. No, this is, we've kind of expected this. This has been forecast for the last couple of years about the price increases. It wasn't a surprise to us. We haven't changed much on our, the specs, meaning that we're not adding any other options. This is pretty standard, so what you're seeing is reflective of what exactly the same things that we've been ordering for the last couple of years.
Have you gotten any of last year's cars?
We have 2 that are upfit as of last week, and we have 2 that are sitting waiting to be upfit currently. So we're good on that. Next.
When do these come in?
These we're hopeful for. There may be one that we can get quite quickly, maybe in the summer months, and the other ones we're hoping for maybe late fall. I think I tell you that every time, and as I just said, we're rolling them out right now, so we're hopeful, fingers crossed. Late fall, early winter.
Other questions from members?
Captain Schneider, did you give any consideration to hybrid or electric vehicles?
We did. Electric's probably a little bit out of our thing, and I think we've talked about some of the hurdles that we would face with that just on the infrastructure-wise, and other issues in an emergency element. Hybrids are a viable option for us. They are about a $3,000 to $4,000 price increase per vehicle. That may negatively impact us on a year where we were cut already as far as upfitting the vehicles to what we need, but it's definitely an option that we're exploring. There's been some heartache with some of the hybrid platforms locally that we had, but not anything that we can't overcome. I think we're right on track. They're kind of perfecting it, and the hybrid model seems to be a viable option for us, potentially moving forward. Especially on some of the softer cars that aren't like on the front lines. So you see like the unmarked detective cars and stuff like that that aren't being, those seem to have a better success rate in that format. So those we're definitely looking into.
And that $3,000 to $4,000 isn't offset by TCO at all, fuel costs?
It would be, you know, when we've talked to other towns, we've seen that at times there is, but it's usually several years down the road. Meaning there isn't a huge significant cost savings on the fuel on the hybrid model. I think it's just the manner in which officers are driving, the stop and go driving, that, you know, we don't do a lot of highway use. So there is obviously a crossover, but when we've talked to other towns, that crossover is usually 3 to 4 years out. On the
average length of time you own the vehicle?
7 years.
So you would hit that 3 or 4 years?
We certainly would. On the patrol cars, it becomes a little bit more complex because they move into like that road job type fashion, which aren't really ideally set up for hybrids or electric because they're sitting on the side of the road and we have a lot of power usage during that time. But on the plainclothes or the soft cars, it's a viable option.
Okay. When's the next time you expect to purchase one of those vehicles?
Well, if all goes well, next year looks okay. You know, depending on, but yeah.
All right, so we'll talk.
Yeah, no, Lieutenant Marley and I have had multiple conversations on this, and, you know, we both felt that a hybrid's a viable option for those cars that we talked about, and definitely in play. This year, with some, I don't want to use the word radio issues in the upfit process, we may be cutting it close with replacing some of the emergency equipment and stuff on the upfitting side with what we have. That's all.
Other questions from members? No. All in favor of approving the bid waiver request, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? All right, that unanimously passes. Next, can I get a motion to approve the bid waiver request from Captain Schneider for the purchase of new handguns for the public safety quote to follow? So moved.
Second.
Motion, Bill, second, Mike. Yeah, you're up again.
Yeah, Whitmer is a vendor that we've used previously for similar purchases in the upfit and upgrading of firearms. We've enjoyed a great customer service with them. During the research process, when we were going to present the budget, Whitmer came out with some of the most competitive pricing for the firearms that we saw in the initial requests for quotes. But two of the things that set them apart that I'd like to emphasize today are, we're not just buying the firearms, we're buying the sighting systems, we're upgrading holsters, we're upgrading a number of other accessories to these firearms. As such, this vendor can supply them all under one purchase rather than having to go to multiple
So it's a
vendors.
one-stop shop.
One-stop shop. Secondly, their trade-in program for the firearms has been vetted and trusted, and we feel good about that, meaning that the firearms that we're trading in are not going to, re-enter the market in some poor manner. It's been a vetted program. It moves through appropriately. We've spoken to them at length about that. Part of that, in addition, is the allowance of time to train. These new guns are a new platform. They're going to take time to train our new officers. We can't just hand them all over when they give us the new guns, the trade-ins. They're allowing us a span of time, in addition to what they initially quoted us, to allow that to transpire. So if we have some bad weeks of rain or something that prevents us from going out and doing the training, they're going to allow us an extension to make sure that we can properly roll them out here in town. So,
Without going into too much detail, are we doing the training still, or are they providing trainers?
all in-house training. Our firearms instructors have been through a school recently to properly deploy these.
Okay.
Yep.
They're on the state bid list.
Yeah.
Questions from other members?
Do other towns have this current configuration? Do you know of others that have gone with this particular model and this sighting system?
This particular model and sighting system has actually been a source of a lot of conversation as of recently. This model has been recently, the whole platform itself has been out for a while, but the combination of the two, and not to get into too many specifics, but the slide cut and allowing the optic to meet the firearm is fairly new to the market. We actually have one follow-up conversation with Rhett next week, but there is no indication right now that that's going to go south. We think that it's just going to bolster our thoughts on purchasing this specific firearm. So like the Glock platform is used nationwide, worldwide. The optic that we're using is a very reputable name. They've just combined this particular optic with this firearm in a combo kind of platform.
You're doing your due diligence to make sure.
Our firearms instructors have spent an inordinate amount of time making sure that this is a good purchase for the town.
But it's controversial, the combination?
It's not controversial in the sense that it's the way these two are like married up is controversial, and it's like a brand new design that hopefully is going to kind of like revolutionize the industry as far as these two things are combined. But we don't foresee any issues. Nevertheless, we have one final meeting with them. I'd come back to you if something dramatically changed our minds, obviously, at the next meeting and say we've decided to bow out. Right now, there was no indication as of today that any of them had that thought when we were moving forward.
Other questions? Nope. All in favor of approving the bid waiver request, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? All right, that unanimously passes. Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Next, can I get a motion to? They never get applause. That's the first time ever I've heard that. Next, can I get a motion to approve the bid waiver request from the service, the rate of, wait, sorry, I jumped ahead. From Roger Kaiser to purchase network equipment from Step CG for $27,586.69.
So moved. Second.
Motion Lynn, second Bill. Roger.
Good evening, how are we doing tonight?
I don't know, my email's still working for now.
Somehow Chris's isn't, I don't know.
Yeah. No, it was that Chris.
Oh, that, okay. We can work that out too. We're looking for the bid waiver to buy these two Extreme Network switches in this fiscal year from funds that we're going to be doing line item transfers here recently. As you know, we have several of our switches that are coming near the end of life. most importantly, our core switches. We have 2 in the data center here at the police department and 2 in the data center at Town Hall. We plan on buying 2 out of funds left over from this fiscal year and 2 more when the new fiscal year begins, that we will have a new stretched core and we can start beginning to improve our security on the back end. STEP CG has been a partner with the Board of Education IT department for many years, and we're just going to leverage that relationship and buy from them.
Questions?
How not lowest is it?
It's actually pretty good. I mean, we went back to the sales guy and knocked it down even lower than we'd expected by about an extra couple $1,000s on the services side.
How long do they last?
Typically, anywhere from 5 to 10 years.
Part of the warranty?
Yes.
What's the replacement?
I have to
Look
look
like?
that up for you specifically, Chris. I don't know, have that information right now, but I'm guessing, like out of the box, typical 1-year warranty, but we're paying for, obviously maintenance and services for every year going forward.
So we've already accommodated this in the budget.
Yeah, this is just a bid waiver request.
Yeah, so the line item transfer is unrelated.
Roger, you have professional services in here. So this is work we can't do ourselves?
Some of the work we can do ourselves, some of the work is a little bit above our skill level at the moment. Board of Ed has an excellent network technician who has been working with the Extreme switches for a few years. Our technician on our side is getting up to speed now, but 2 of them combined still with the way our network is built between the 2 VMware hosts on both sides, we need somebody with a little bit more knowledge than what we have here locally.
Other questions? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the bid waiver request, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? All right, that unanimously passes. Thanks, Roger. Next, going to get a motion to approve the bid waiver request from Administrative Services Director for scanning services for $27,811.61.
So moved.
I got a motion from Bill and a second from Deb. You're up.
Good evening. Looking for a bid waiver to complete the scanning project in the Planning and Zoning Department. We want to finalize, get everything complete, and we're looking to move relatively quickly.
So this predates you, but how did we manage to pay a vendor to do this and not have it foot to the systems we use?
So they didn't fail completely. The documents that they provided us were usable, and I'm assuming according to the agreement, but they are not searchable, and some of them are 200 pages large or bigger. So it's time consuming to have to look up the information that we need in the documents.
So did they fail to provide something we expect?
Technically, we can upload the documents that they gave us into Laserfiche. They're not organized the way we need them to. So for a little bit more money, this RICO will organize them exactly how we need it to and save us a lot of time in the future.
I get that, but did we pay the other vendor to do this that it didn't do?
No, we paid them to provide us with digitized documents, which they did do.
Okay.
Just not in the best.
They're just not in a format that is optimal for the town moving forward. But they fulfilled all the obligations of the contract we had with them.
That's my understanding, yes.
Okay.
Is that right? Because that doesn't seem to be what was told to us.
I think it was basically, like they said, they scanned them, they put them in Laserfiche, but they weren't, there was an assumption they would sort them in the way that could be easily searchable, and it wasn't. So this a little bit of additional funding will make that happen. It was the first phase of doing this work, so we've ceased doing it that way going forward, but we need to correct this.
When they were doing some of the scanning, they were pulling files out of a banker's box, just scanning them en masse with a few markers on some very simple search items, but they weren't taking into account the detailed nature of how the files were stored, right? Some of them didn't have a map, block, and lot assigned to them yet, so these documents couldn't be searched in that manner. So some common things were missed by people scanning who didn't understand how our back end was set up. So a lot of documents were scanned with some searchable elements to them, but when you have a 45-page PDF with multiple documents in it, they didn't understand that some of that should have been broken up into separate projects or separate physical locations in the town. So while we can't, in a sense, we can still use them, we can break them up manually. Obviously, you can take a PDF, split the pages off, and do it that way, but that's the manual work that needs to be done. Some of the documents can be used, some of them need to be checked, and that's the work that's going to be done.
Is it pretty specified? I've read through the proposal, but are we confident we're detailed enough that this proposal
Yes, very.
addresses the problems that you've encountered?
Yes, in fact, they provided us with a sample with one of our records, and it's exactly perfectly everything that we need. And they've been very responsive, their customer service is fantastic, and that's why we're hoping to be able to spend a little bit more money and bring them on board.
The company that we used before, did we pay them in full for what they did, or did we get a break because they didn't do what we wanted them to do?
I don't have that exact information, but
We should, I would think. There should be something.
Well, I wasn't involved in the communication that happened beforehand, so it is my understanding that they provided what was promised. It's just not ideal for our purposes.
My understanding, Dave, is that what happened was they provided the level of service that was the minimum level of service for what they did. Optimal for the town includes more searchable and more separatable things, and that may or may not have been stipulated in the contract at the time. So I think if we got into a large argument with them about how much they did or didn't do, we would probably spend a lot more money than what we're talking about here as a bid waiver request, to just get it done the way that it's best optimized for the town. Tell me when I'm wrong.
That's exactly it.
And then that will clear up this problem and we can move forward. And it is a bid waiver request. It's not looking for additional money.
It just seems like somebody dropped the ball somewhere along the line with this. And because we got to go out, get another company to come in to fix it for $27,811. It just
No, the company's not coming in to fix it, they're coming in to do more
More.
scanning.
I think, David, it probably would have cost more if we had done it this way to begin with. I think it was the first time we'd ever done
This
this.
is additional scanning. It's not going back and redoing, is my understanding.
Well, how are we
The
gonna
documents
fix
we
what was
have
done?
are usable as is. It's time consuming to filter through them to get the information that we need, but they are usable. So we're looking to
So this
finish
is
the rest of the
next
project.
phase of what we're doing. So we're not
Doing it
redoing
correctly,
anything.
yeah.
So we're just
But-
gonna leave the other ones the way they are? Sorry.
Yeah.
We'll continue to chip
Manually.
away at it manually. It will take some time, but we'll get there.
So David, this is just reflecting why it's costing more than maybe before, because we're doing it, the whole thing now, not trying to do 3/4 of it for future ones.
Yeah, that's a good question. Well, this is only a bid waiver, so we're
Yeah.
going to beat this.
I want to stay to
Yeah.
the bid waiver.
I will add one more thing, that, there was still $48,000 left in the purchase order with this contractor that we got wise to it, we canceled the
Okay, so we short did the entirety of the bid, or of the work that they were supposed to do. And we stopped it early, and this is the bid waiver for a different company to do the next set in a way that you've already trialed, and it seems to work for the town in a better manner, and that's what we're going forward with here. Okay, so there's 48,000 there that we didn't spend. Good. Other questions? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the bid waiver request, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstain? All right, that unanimously passes. Thanks, Maurice. What did you do, run out of? Oh, no, there you go. Look up and you're gone.
I heard no more questions,
All right, next item on the agenda, we're under line item transfer request Can I get a motion to approve the request from the IT manager to transfer $28,576.99? And let's just make sure, Jim, on the agenda that it gets corrected, because there's a couple extra zeros in there.
Yeah, there's 2 decimal places.
Two decimal places in a dollar bill doesn't quite make sense.
More than people get it, it's the new math.
All right, for $28,576.99 from various general funds IT operating accounts to SIP town hall technology upgrades.
So moved.
Second.
Motion Bill, second Lynn. Discussion or questions?
What's the Breeze Line billing issue?
Funny story there.
I knew it.
At the beginning of this current fiscal year, around July, August, somehow, some way, Breeze Line managed to close our account for our primary internet service to Town Hall for non-payment. Then they shut the services off, which is great. So I'm thinking, okay, where's the bill? I go to log in like August, find out where the bill is. I can't log in. Contact my account rep. Long story short, it took them 5 months to sort it out, to get us a new account number, back under the current contract, so we're, made whole again. Since it was on their end, the 5 months that they did not charge us, they chose to not charge us. So that's where there was some really extra funds that we could make good use of.
Any other questions on this? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the light item transfer request, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstain? All right, that unanimously passes. Next, can I get a motion to approve the request from the first selectman to transfer $327,591 from the SIP account, highway equipment, to still not got enough letters. MR. River Boathouse Park Implementation Committee. And I know I need more letters. All I've got here in our agenda is MBHP. I know we need more.
I put on my glasses so I can see your face.
No, I need a motion first.
Second.
Motion Bill, second Lynn. All right, now you're up.
Okay, thank you so much. We have a lot on the agenda, so we'll be quick, but we have Mike O'Neill here with us too. Just as a reminder, in addition to the about 5.3 million on our side, they have raised 2 million on their side. We are so close. We got the 5 bids back. This is the second time we put the bids out in a way to hopefully drive costs down, which totally worked. The team worked super hard, and we are about a little over 400,000, or about 400,000 short. So we're asking for the 327,591 here that we had talked about putting aside specifically for this project. It's not technically ARPA money, but it was ARPA money that we then had to spend, and then we said, let's set it aside and not use it for anything. And then I did just want to note really quickly that later in the agenda under the bond, we did put another 107 in there. We likely only really need about 60, but that came in after we had our Board of Selectmen meeting. So Ben, Debbie, and I approved the 107. We thought it might be smart to keep it for some additional contingency. There is contingency in there, but some additional, but just to note that number could come down a bit if we needed it. And then just because Mike's been working on this for 10 years, I just wanted to see if he wanted to say anything.
More like 50. So I just think that's just a great project. It's been a number of very dedicated Stonington residents that have put their life and soul in this thing for the last 10 years to make it happen. And went out, raised the money, put together designs for the building, worked with the town, obviously on the park side. There's been just an awful lot of people that are really trying to make this work. And the reason why is that the Start 2 Crew program has just been a phenomenal program. We've always, every year, get the best and brightest kids. We have about 15% of student population involved in the program. We swing way above our weight. We've won state champions back to back, even though they're one of the smallest teams in the league. We are constantly asked to provide opportunities for people other than the kids to row. We don't have the facilities to do that. The Mystic Seaport has been phenomenal. They've let us use their facilities for 27 years at no cost. But our time is up. We need to move on. We need a home. We need a place to continue to build this program and to create opportunities not only for the kids of the high school, but for the greater community. And that's our plan, is to build a community rowing center, open it up to the public, open up the facilities that we build for a lot of the local nonprofits that would like to run programs in that facility as well. So we just hope that you see what we see and that you'll support this and make this thing finally happen. So thank you.
And like Nick said, out of $7 million plus, we 400,000 short isn't too bad, considering you basically did, but you know, kind of like everybody here, just really it's still gonna happen.
Please.
So I'm curious,
Yeah.
beyond the financial considerations here, I mean, what are you most worried about? I mean, what's on your risk worry list at the moment?
Kids, right?
Or, well, I, you know, in terms of getting this
Yes.
over the goal line.
So we're very solid. We've been pretty much ready to do this, so we've been waiting on the park. So we have a building fully designed, we have all contractors lined up, we have all of our bids completed, we know what it's gonna cost, we know how long it's gonna take. But from the beginning, it's like no park, no boathouse. You know, we can't do anything until the town moves forward and builds a park, and that creates the platform for us to move forward. So we don't have any doubt that we can do this. We're gonna phase a little bit. I think our actual costs are gonna be somewhere around 2.6, 2.8 million, which is what we budgeted 10 years ago. We budgeted 2.5, so we were pretty accurate with our projections on this project. There's a lot of people that right now don't believe this is gonna happen, that have said they'll give us money, but they wanna see a shovel in the ground, they wanna see this thing actually move forward. So we think we'll be able to close that gap pretty effectively once we get going. But as far as we're concerned, our big challenge right now is we're very close to the point that if we don't get this done, we will lose the program at high school. Because the Seaport is doing what any business does, they're going about their businesses. The docks we use are completely dilapidated, they wanna rebuild them. When they rebuild them, they won't be rowing docks anymore, they'll be docks for some other, thing at the Seaport, and they're in active conversations about that right now. So if this doesn't happen, it's gonna have pretty significant ramifications for our program.
And Mike, just add on our side.
Let me add something there, Mike, because I was the Board of Finance liaison for a long time on this. I think they've also done a responsible act of modifying what the crew team is going to do, looking at funds in, costs in, what they're doing. So it's not that you just had a design and you just have moved forward. You've modified and adapted as it's gone along and said, okay, this is what we can do, what we can't do. So in essence, the whole time that I was there, you were mitigating your risks. So you're down to a structure and a building that you think you can really deal with, live with. And then if you have the ability, once it's up, to modify and go further.
Absolutely.
So I think, Mike, they've been mitigating risks this whole time.
This is independent of that, though. This is for the town.
Yes, this is for the town, but what they need is the park.
Well,
They
right,
need
but
the
this
park.
is for the park. We're not,
Yes.
this is not for the
No.
boathouse.
No, but so the risk to them is just trying to
They don't
get
get a park.
they don't get a park.
Yeah, I get it. But we're not gonna
Yeah,
forego all the grant
Quick
money.
on the risk thing, Mike, and Nikki, you're not here, but Jim and Molly have been working extremely hard, tirelessly, along with some other folks. But we have the state hurdle to clear, but it's, they've been constant communication. We've sent everything to them. So that's just, if you guys approve this, that'll be the next thing, is we just have to wait to hear back from the state. But again, constant communication with them. They just have to approve the contracts, but we've checked kind of all their boxes. There's been really good communication. So after that, we think we could actually be shovels in the ground July. So we could really, and then it'll take about a year altogether. But this will be the quick part if we can get the money, and then, short of the state coming up with something, but we've been talking to them consistently throughout this process.
The state's been in a steady move. Those are the tears.
So the other thing Mike mentioned the other night at the park committee meeting is the house. There's the boathouse, and then there's the historic structure, which at the beginning is, we were told we didn't have to worry about it. So that's been a story unto itself, but there's some flex, even though they might have to, raise another $500,000, $700,000. they can delay the finishing of the house and build a boathouse while they raise the rest of the money to complete the house, which will be offices and storage and so forth. So that, because it isn't critical to the operation of the boathouse,
We have enough money to, with the money we have, to build the facilities we need to continue the program. The house is kind of a bonus that we really didn't want. But throwing on the project that there's nothing bonus about it, but it's a non-necessary item that we are facilitating, so.
but we honor the history of.
We love Chicago. We love Chicago so much.
Other questions from board members? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the line item transfer request, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? That unanimously passes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, can I get a motion to approve the request from the town engineer to transfer $76,456 from the bridge maintenance account to the new SIP account for the Collins Road Bridge project? So moved.
Second.
Motion Bill, second Chris.
This one's the gift that just keeps giving. Okay, so for folks who don't know, we have an amazing bridge program, but even with that, sometimes bridges fail without you being aware of them. So as you guys maybe know from our amazing app updates that went out, the Collins Road Bridge no longer has a load sufficiency rating where like school buses, fire trucks, ambulance, really even like a heavy pickup truck can go over it. Chris Greenlaw, our town engineer, worked really quick and hard with Jim, and I did just a tiny bit, to kind of figure this out. Again, these are like, right now, we're just asking for money to do the engineering work. But we do have a plan, and you'll see in addition to what's in here, we do have about 20,000 asked in this phase of the SIP, just as a buffer in case we need it for engineering. Our plan is to go to the state local bridge program. We'd know if we got money for that by July. So you'll see in your spreadsheet, we do have an estimate of 600,000. That's a brand new item in the bond request, but that would be for phase 2. So we did want to put it in there so you could see, again, that's a really high level estimate, but it's the best we could do working with WMC, the engineers who have come to present to you guys before, our bridge engineers, and Chris, what we think it could cost. We'll obviously keep you guys updated the whole time, but the good news is we think if we have to do it ourselves, we can do it probably for about the 600,000, maybe even 5. If we do it through the state, it'll be probably a little bit more expensive because we'll have certain requirements, but it'll be entered into the bridge, state bridge local program, and then for generations you can keep using it versus what we do, it would no longer be classified as a bridge. So you couldn't go into that program again in the future. So that's why we want to do it this way.
Wasn't there some discussion about converting it to a culvert?
Yes, so that's on the table if the state local bridge program says no, but no matter what, it'll basically be probably 3 drains, I think they're trying, 3 pipes, or a culvert. It'll be a more simplified version, but still looking rural and natural in its rural setting. But basically we just have to see what this engineering comes back with. So that's why this is just a transfer from the operating right now into a new SIP account.
So how much is left in that account, Jim?
Exactly this amount. Which is why in the bond we're asking for 20,000 buffer just in case we need it. But we think this should cover it, right, Jim? Yeah.
Chris said it would, I think his word for it.
So how do we discover this?
It's a random inspection, isn't it?
I think it was the Quambog fire chief brought it to our attention.
Yeah, there were some concerns about the structural integrity in fire trucks using it with the weight flow capacity.
Because, I mean, we have been looking at all the bridges.
Yeah, we don't do them every year, so I think we had done this one 2 or 3 years ago and it passed. So this was, it went kind of quickly, probably with all the rain we've gotten and the...
Well, they continue to have to fill in around it. It keeps, it's a high bridge. You can basically get airborne if you're going 20 miles an hour. So it is degrading, you can see it. Yes.
So yeah, it was, the Quambog chief was like, I think so, and then Chris worked with Captain Schneider and others to kind of get people out there and look at it, and it did fail the load sufficiency rating. But it costs money to do all these, so we 19 bridges? So we can't afford to do every one every year, so we rotate them.
Right.
But we used to do nothing, so this is a step in the right direction.
All right, other questions? All right, all in favor of approving the line item transfer request, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? All right, that unanimously passes.
Thank you, Bridget.
Keep the cheese up again.
Yeah. Can I get a motion to approve the request from Chief of Police to transfer $10,000 from the regular officers' salaries to training?
So moved.
Second.
Motion Bill, second Lynn. Chief?
Hello. So I'm looking to transfer $10,000 in regular officers' salaries to training. Our training budget this year, we had kind of the perfect storm with a few things that occurred. We had, with a retirement, we had a detective that retired. New youth officer went to specialized training to support the detective division, along with lateral officer training that we had at the same time, well, within the same budget year. And then range officers, we had a retirement, we retrained range officers. So as the captain mentioned before, they've been to several schools, plus the schools for the new platform. And we have 2 recruits that just graduated the academy, so we have to pay for that all at the same time. So altogether, it's all for very necessary things that we had to put them through that training. And we're over by just under that 10,000. This will get us, and I don't think it needs to be increased for another year. This is all specialty that kind of happened in 1 year.
Questions? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the line item transfer request, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstain? That unanimously passes. Thanks, Chief. Next, can I get a motion to approve the request from First Selectman to transfer $15,000 and $1,000 from general funds accounts as noted to the athletic fields to fund preliminary engineering for phase 1 of Tom Irwin's proposal, which is attached?
So moved. Second.
Motion Bill, second Chris. Danielle?
So we're really excited, pending what happens on June 16th. And since we have so many people that are registered voters here, we have a town meeting on June 16th. The K through 12 building committee will be part of that vote, but so we'll hopefully be acquiring a new recreational field right across the street at the VFW. So pending that passing and us being able to buy that, we met with a kind of field specialist, and the next phase they recommended would be to do this kind of soil testing, that we do that before we even do engineering work, because it'll tell us, really inform us what we need. We've, I think, learned lessons from past projects. We want to be sure we're doing all of our proper due diligence. So this was recommended as a very first step. So I'd love, if this passes on June 16th, to be able to hit the ground running with the soil testing, so then we can really better inform, what we're doing with that next phase of engineering. Again, spoiler alert, the engineering request is in the first phase of the bond request that we'll be talking about later. And then we have the second phase of actually creating the field in phase 2. That is a high-level estimate, but based on some outreach to other towns.
So this is going to be a park and rec field?
Yes, it would be under Human Services for rec, for a town field.
It's going to be grass, or it's going to be?
Grass, not dirt. Yeah. Unless you want to throw another million dollars at us.
No.
That site's not suitable for turf.
Steve McNair will be very happy. He loves doing the field. I can't say, DPW's been super involved in this already, and they've been just doing so much great outreach to other towns. They're the ones who found this guy Irwin. They do fields all over New England. They've just been really fantastic getting out there. Jeff did the survey work himself, our Director of Public Works. So it's been a real team effort. And I think we even have some of the parents in the room who spoke in favor of it during the bond meeting.
Further questions about the line item transfer?
Yeah, just on the soil testing.
Yep.
Yeah. Are we doing A to Z here? I mean,
No, so right now it's A, literally, or the
phase 1?
Phase 1, the
Okay.
15, or almost 16,000.
Yeah.
These are his proposals for the rest. We weren't able to vet through if we definitely would want to do all of them. I think some of them we'd probably include. But we need to do more due diligence and do reference checks of what's really needed, get into that level. But we did do the due diligence on the soil testing, and everybody agreed that was a key step.
So it looks like a lot, reading this here, the phase 1 piece, is a lot of it's around drainage and, dirt type and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But what about contaminants and that sort of thing?
Is that in the phase 1?
I'm not seeing it, but.
Yeah,
didn't
then
see
I
it
don't think we
specifically
would.
called
So
out, but.
luckily, we have an LEP that does a lot of volunteer work for us, so as part of the due diligence before buying it, Debbie did do like kind of a overall basic phase one, just to be sure it was never, a site of a transfer station or something, the things that they look for, and it cleared everything. So kind of the recommendation, now that we have so many brownfields in town, we know about this, is you don't go doing that unless there is something from a phase one that tells you you need to. So we wouldn't be doing that. We did do the wetland soil testing already, so we know where the wetlands are.
Deb's got the contaminants phase one.
Yeah, basically it's like more of like a historic, as I understand it, aerial photos and review of land use maps and stuff, and everything came back that it should be, there's nothing that flags to say you should do a phase two.
Danielle, so the company we've used in the past for, I know we had a turf expert come in before when we rebuilt the fields.
I don't know if they specifically did. I know Steve McNair is like our foreman basically for the fields, and he has worked with them for other things. I don't know if it was specifically for that field project, but he liked them, and then we reached out to some, they're doing some like private schools in Connecticut, Massachusetts, but also some public schools.
The company we used before, it was the principal owner was from, I think from Marblehead, so.
Okay.
I don't know if that's rings a bell in here or not. Anyway.
I know who constructed it was like Malone and McBroom, and they've become SLR, who's doing our POCD.
They did the engineering.
Engineering, yeah.
But we ran, the existing field ran into some difficulties, but that was because we ended up going with a low bidder when we did the construction.
Probably will not do this.
Well, an unrealistically low bidder, I think, was the issue, so.
All right, more questions, any more questions about the line item transfer request? Hearing none, all in favor of approving it, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? All right, that unanimously passes.
Thank you, Brian.
You don't have to sound so shocked. Now I think I know where the questions are coming in from. So this, Jim, this agenda item confused the hell out of
It's a
me.
hypothetical.
Okay, because that's why it confused me then.
Yeah, this is, with Chris will come up and talk, is that fine? Just to give
Okay.
you,
What,
and we're excited too.
We're gonna vote, I just want to get we're looking to get a temperature from the board for a future line item transfer in January of '06, or '26.
January of-
It's going to be for a line item transfer request for '25, '26.
okay, so this is just a sense of the board at
Yes.
this point in time?
Yes.
What about
Okay,
the demolition package?
right at the bottom. And then it goes to the second page.
Oh,
That's the problem, is that it, yeah.
Sorry, we skipped the bid waiver for the.
yeah, we skipped something.
Sorry.
What did I skip?
For the boathouse,
Yeah,
this thing.
that's right.
That,
Approval of bid for, the building demolition.
oh, okay. Well, that's where these kind of lined up together, and that's where it got me confused. Okay,
At the bottom of the first.
sorry,
page,
Chris,
right?
we'll get to you in a second. Yeah, bottom of the first page. Can I get a motion to approve the bid for the demolition package for the Mystic River Boathouse Park Implementation Committee project, which was not low bid?
So, second.
Motion, Deb,
Yeah, second though.
second, Deb.
So why wasn't it the low bid?
Because the low bidder didn't understand the full scope of the work and shared that and said, we did not properly bid this, gave them a chance to come back. They didn't, so we went with the second highest bidder, second lowest bidder. Just want to see your page, I should, second lowest bidder. And they were very well recommended, and they just happened to also be the person who was the lowest bidder for all the site work, so it's good.
What's the size of that bid?
It was small.
Pardon?
The demolition.
How much?
It's like 50.
Approximately.
54,000, somewhere.
Okay.
Yeah, it's 53,997.
Okay, so
And
54.
the low bid was 47,000, so you got another $7,000, so.
But then they said
So they weren't gonna do
But they
it.
said they weren't gonna do it. Yeah.
Well,
The routine thing we do is, projects like this, do scope review to make sure nothing was missed during.
Yep. Yep.
but even the second low bidder was still substantially cheaper than the
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
so.
And we did do a scope review with them as well, they,
To make sure, yeah,
they understood
okay.
it.
All right, all right.
Further questions? Hearing none, all in favor of approving that, say aye.
Aye.
Any abstain? Thank you.
Thank you, not surprised.
There are times I wonder. All right, now we're on to our hypothetical, right, Jim?
Yes.
Okay. So this is just gonna be a discussion item. That is just,
So if you get a sense of the board that you approve it, we will be.
but I can't do a motion for a sensitive board, but I can ask for a sensitive board after we have the discussion. So the first thing I'm gonna do is ask Chris and Marisa, are you part, okay. Are they co-linked or, okay. Can you guys talk about this, please?
So, I'm very excited to bring this forward to you. We are looking to share services with the Board of Ed. Currently, the IT manager reports to the Director of Admin Services. That has been working. Roger is constantly coming to my rescue, but I provide him no support. I have very minimal knowledge when it comes to technology, and so he's been lacking a support from a director perspective. We have an amazing director of technology right here in town at the Board of Ed, and we think that it'll be an amazing opportunity to consolidate services under one director. And Chris will speak to the amazing work that he has planned.
I'll give you the 30-second elevator pitch. There's a four-page, there's a four-page timeline I've shared with you as well. Essentially what we're looking to do is create a merger. So we want to share services between the two IT departments. As you saw earlier, the bid waiver Rogers requested, we've already started working together in anticipation and in hope of your support of this. They're replacing their core switches with the same switches that we use. When I'm buying 100 switches and he's buying 2 switches, I'm buying 102 switches, right? So we're gonna have price competition, so we're gonna be able to take advantage of some of that consortium pricing. So there's some bulk options there. Shared resources, as he alluded to earlier. We have a network engineer, he has, the equivalent. So now they have shared resources, that they have a counterpart. In the IT realm, when somebody's out, there's no such thing as a sub, it falls on somebody. So having somebody else who's versed in that same technology will help immensely. Again, the purchasing power, they have got storage arrays, we have storage arrays, that's just one box now. So there's a huge potential for capital savings. The ultimate goal is to build a fabric network across the entire town of Stonington. We are currently waiting E-rate funding for which the board has already approved, our portion of that for our self-provisioned fiber. So we'll be running our own fiber optic cable network throughout the entire town. With that, we'll be able to piggyback the town's fiber links. So while my contractors are already up there, we can just pay for materials and a little bit of extra labor to help feed some of the town buildings as well. So that's the Breeze Line lease we pay. It's upwards of $48,000 a year in fiber leases that'll go away. So that'll help with ultimate savings as well. In addition to that, we'll have the ability to start to roll out NIST framework and some cybersecurity controls, just to make sure that both the schools and the town are up to date and employing the latest and greatest cybersecurity practices. When we do things like vulnerability assessments and audits, it'll be one umbrella that we're getting that done. Again, savings and services, but also creating a cohesive network. And down the line in future years, the ultimate goal would be to extend that to our local first responder agencies like ambulatory services, fire departments, and even nonprofits, and be able to charge for IT as a service to bring in those other entities to the town as well. So I'll pause there for questions. I'm sure we've got some.
Are you gonna need more people?
Not in the foreseeable future.
So Roger would direct report to myself. Roger would continue to manage his team and day-to-day operations. We have a 2-year, 2-phased approach to this. Year one, 12.5% of my time. Obviously, that's a moving target, tough to nail down exactly, and I'm sure it'll be a little more than that, but would be dedicated to the town side. And then year 2 and on, 25% of my time would be dedicated to town, and the 75% would be dedicated to Board of Ed operations.
So you're gonna actually be a school employee,
Correct.
right? And so in that MOU, the bump up for the town contribution comports with the percentage of time from the total salary?
So, yeah. No, I mean, I like the creative thinking, and, yeah, it sounds like, you know, it's a real opportunity. What's our level of confidence in getting this memorandum of understanding, you know, solid? Or I know in the past, when we've done some of this stuff between the town and the Board of Ed, there's some sticky points and.
Very confident.
Very confident.
And Danielle's been working with Marissa and I and Alicia and Superintendent Butler. I know conversations have been had with Jim, so we've been having the conversations. I've talked with Roger about this and sort of planning and getting ready for this. And we've got the support and everyone on board, Board Chair Farouk as well.
Okay, all right, so it sounds like everyone's thumbs up is
Yeah, it's been a group effort, and
Final
we're
draft, MOU?
very confident. Yes.
Yeah.
We do have a final draft of an MOU already
It is, okay.
to be reviewed, so we
Pretty
are
close as it was,
ready
yeah.
to move forward, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing I'd like to is I think you guys were clear about, you know, you're gonna run it as a trial for a period of time and then assess. And
Yeah, it's a
so
2-year
I
deal.
think, yeah, it's a healthy way to do that.
With regular check-ins, but ultimately, we are very confident that this will work, but we won't know for sure unless we try, so we're very excited to.
So that's gonna cover the PD too, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I've had extensive conversations with Roger about it, and he was
He's good with it?
good with it.
Should be a help for him.
That's the goal.
It's tough to be the last guy, you know.
Just bring in, you know, some project management.
You're the help desk with no help, it's terrible.
So, I just want to make sure that you're understanding that the systems between the town and the school will remain separated from a logical separation there, right?
Correct, for the short term. Now, with the rollout of a fabric network, and I'll talk a little tech with Chris over here since he'll understand what I'm saying.
You two are gonna have a conversation.
What we're doing is essentially keeping all services separated. We can start to leverage shared cores and other things of that nature, using ISILs instead of VLANs, so we can keep those separate security protocols in place. But the nice thing is, if a police officer goes to, you know, the schools or district office, they can still access their network from that without needing a VPN client, but it's still completely encrypted, isolated traffic back through their network, and actually filtered on the firewall on their side as well, so.
I mean, I just want to make sure that there's a clear separation there, just so we don't have additional risk from the school system impacting the town services or vice versa.
Sound like Jim.
And the other question I have is on, no, I've forgotten this. Come back to me.
Okay. I think that was the most common thing I had a question that people have asked me about was, there's still gonna be a clear delineation because without going into any specifics, we know that there's always some bad actor trying to get into somewhere, and we need to maintain some degree of separation so that if they were to penetrate one or two, they don't get the whole town-wide everything.
I remembered my second question.
Okay, go ahead.
So
I gave you long enough? Okay.
Chris, do you anticipate any cost savings here? Do you have any metrics for tracking that? Is that something that's going to be reported to Board of Finance in any capacity?
Absolutely. So part of phase one in the first year is really audit and assessment. So over the next year, and I've got sort of a rough guideline of a month breakdown in the report I gave you, but essentially what we're going to look to do is what inventory do they have, what systems are in place, what can we start to merge. We are in the process this summer, for example, of rolling out hyperconverged infrastructure. So we'll be taking storage and compute resources, combining those into one box. Those are very scalable solutions. So as the town approaches storage refreshes and things of this nature, we can essentially forego that and instead add nodes to that cluster as we expand across the town and the different entities. So finding technologies that work for both of us, it's not necessarily going to be whatever the schools is using is what the town will use. There's going to be opportunities, for example, our backup appliance, we're coming up on a refresh for, the town just refreshed. Guess what? We're gonna go with the town's choice in that aspect. So wherever it makes the most sense to have cost savings, when we do buy these arrays, these boxes, if it's expandable and we can add storage to it or we can add resources to it, that's what we'll do first and foremost, rather than just buying a second box, a third box, et cetera. And especially with redundancy, you know, you have 2 of everything. Well, right now the town has 2 of everything and the school has 2 of everything. We're cutting that in half by sharing those resources.
Further questions for Chris? Not Johnson? None? Okay. This is an informal process, but I'd like to get a sense from the board. All those that would be supportive of this come January 1, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? All right, the unanimous sense of the board is that it would be supportive come January 1. Cannot guarantee that you are going to see the same board January 1, but this one that's seated right here is supportive of it, and that'll be reflected in the minutes. All right, next item we have is another hypothetical. Of a request to transfer coming January 1, 2026, approximately $59,000 from 2 half-time clerical positions in the building and WPCA departments to Human Services Department. Marisa.
So we are full of creative ideas this evening, and full transparency. We are always looking at ways to improve. We have a couple of things in the works. We're looking to also consolidate to one land use department by combining the building department and the zoning department. And by doing that, we think that we can reduce a clerical staff in that office. We've identified a need in the Human Services Department, and we think that it would be beneficial if we could transfer the funds from they're currently shared with the Building Department and the WPCA into Human Services. And Leanne can speak to the exact work that would be done, but we're thinking that it'll help in closing some gaps.
So I had sent a memo along just in support of the individual that's been with us since January now. We do have one receptionist in our office, but we have no other clerical support at all. And our receptionist is literally a receptionist answering the phone, transferring calls, dealing with people that come into the front desk every day. At this time, we've needed clerical support for a while, but we all just fill in and make it happen because we understand the climate that the town is in and the predicament the board is in with adding any new positions. So in this situation, this individual has come to us with a wealth of experience in administrative tasks, has proficiency with every task that she's completed to date. She's really focused on getting our tracking system up and running, which is what produces our data reports for you and to apply for grants. We're always kind of lagging behind and taking that home because it's just so cumbersome to enter the data. Outside of data entry, she's also been responsible for handling people that are walking in with for example, the New York Community Cares program that matches resident volunteers with residents in need of services. A lot of people have had a hard time signing up. People walk in, we have a computer in the lobby, she's able to run right out there, sit down, create an email for somebody. Little tasks like that people come to us throughout the day for that normally we're setting up appointments for them to come back because our case managers are busy. So even though it's a clerical position, she's actually helping with the community as well, a little bit more than other clerical positions in town hall potentially. Just helping me tremendously with organization of administrative tasks for the whole team. So it's hard to find an individual that comes with such experience for our diverse department that can kind of pivot on a dime and work in our fast-paced environment and acclimate so quickly. So we've been really lucky to have the support since January, and we're lucky to be able to continue.
So you're gaining a person, but it's a net zero because you're going to combine departments and somehow or another the admin staff can be paired as a consequence? We're not going to be tapping on the door for another person in there?
No,
Yeah,
you're
no.
correct. Because this person was essentially to provide backup and support in the absence of the clerical staff in the building department. By combining the building and the planning and zoning departments, we'll have 3 administrators that will eventually be cross-trained.
So it's not going to impact the operations of the WPCA
No,
or the
Dan-
building department?
Dan had already shared with us that once they moved to OpenGov, the need for that half-time clerical did go down. So every now and then, technology does lead to a decrease in need. So he was already willing to do this, understanding that obviously personnel is hard to come by. And this person is amazing and wonderful. We don't want to lose the person, but there's needs in other departments, and we cross-checked with a lot of departments. A lot of people wanted this person, but we determined the best place was human services. But we won't be coming back to us or another admin in that hopefully combined department.
I'm trying to be respectful in funding and just working with what we have, but we do think that this is great improvement.
Is she currently working part-time? And the idea is to move to full-time or?
She's full-time, but she's only part-time there. She's filling in some other departments, helping out while we go through this, we were trying to see the best place. So she's been helping in the planning department, helping DPW a little bit, so helping Marisa a little bit, so.
But also it's full-time to full-time.
Full-time,
Yeah.
full-time.
But if the planning department needs help, I'm still not understanding why combining the two departments is going to...
The person was in building. So the planning department she was helping primarily while Candy was out on hip surgery. So that's when she was there. And planning department should be also moving to OpenGov soon. So the idea is also, once they move to OpenGov, they should be, I'd say their 2 admin are pretty strained right now, but the plan is to move them to OpenGov. We have the means to do that. So once that takes place, that administrative burden will even further go down.
But the planning and zoning and the building departments aren't being combined because planning and zoning needs help.
Yeah.
It's to,
No, I get that.
Okay.
When you said she's floating because they need
Yes.
help, I'm like, well, how does this going to work?
yeah, we all needed help. and we
Everybody
kind of
needs
had
help. I
to
think
do that
anybody would
everywhere.
take her. We tried to determine where the most need was, but yeah, it's.
I have a question. These 2 people, half-time clerical positions,
It's one person.
It's one person, 2
It's one
different
person, she's supplying 2 departments.
building and
She's
sewer.
splitting her time between 2 different departments.
okay. So she's not really required to, needed in that position again? Is that what I'm,
What they're hoping is what Danielle had said was, they've seen a great improvement with some of the technology they brought in.
Yeah.
So the clerical help is not as extensive, and then as they get the other departments onto that, the need for that clerical help should be alleviated. But Leanne's department needs that help right now with people coming in. So it's taking the half-time out of the other 2 departments and move it into Leanne's department.
I'm just curious, how long has it been since that really isn't required, the 2 half-time positions?
Well, it was due to, as Danielle said, it was due to some personnel issues that people were out for reasons. Whether it was a health reason or, whatever. They were out for a while, so she was helping to cover while people were out.
Yeah, and OpenGov is a relatively recent thing, and the
Yeah.
billing system that we approved for the WPCA that was a very labor-intensive thing that had to be done there, which no longer is the case, or won't be the case, really. That's what Dan told you, right?
That's what Danielle told me that Dan told her.
Yeah.
Watch me push.
So this person now will be, maybe I'm messing this up, this person is now going to be full-time with the Human Resources Department?
Human services,
Human
yes.
Services.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Yes, that's the idea, is that after trying to find the right place for this employee, because again, it is an existing employee. If you didn't approve this, we'd have to let her go, which is why we're asking for this now and not waiting till January, because we want a clear direction from the board. But it is an existing employee who's been fantastic. So after evaluating all the department needs, a lot of people would like to have her. she seemed like the best fit, and the highest need was within human services, and the skill set matched up really great, like Leanne said.
We did know that we would have less of a need in the land use department, so we're trying to make efficient and effective use of our people and the resources that we have.
Okay.
We like that.
I think I understand.
Other questions? All right, again, there's no motion here to act on, but if I can get a sense of the board that they would support the transfer come January 1, 2026 for this effort, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? So the sense of the board at this point in time is that it would be supported.
Great, thank you.
Thanks. All right, next we got discussion request from Chief Police to reassess a new part-time position.
Hello. So, we were approved a part-time position. That part-time position was to move support staff work from our uniform personnel so we could have them doing uniform personnel type work, which we're very appreciative of. And also to help us with, because we've taken on with the captain, emergency management, we've taken on the accreditation aspect of it. There's a lot of support staff type of things that need to be done. What we have is we have a 3- and 5-year plan. We discuss it with all the personnel in the department, and we continue to discuss it with different departments within our department. We sat down with the clerical and we spoke with them about what some of the transfer responsibilities were going to be, and they offered up the fact that they're currently at 35 hours a week, and that after going over the responsibilities we're going to ask for them to assume that uniform currently have, they believe that they're able to take the 35 hours with 2 of the clerical positions, move those to 40 hours, then taking the remaining amount of money to, when we have them on projects where we have things that are due, we can use that in an overtime basis. And it would eliminate us at this point of having to hire a new person. I believe it to be much more efficient. I think it's something that if we can get by with doing it with this approved money to get the same thing done with people that are already here instead of hiring a new person, I would like to try that first with it. And it wouldn't go over what we've currently been approved. We're hoping that it would stay under. And it might not. It might be something we have to say, it didn't work, we need to hire somebody, but the only way we would ask for something like that is if we believed it wasn't working, we needed to hire somebody on a full-time basis, would be a whole other discussion. I don't think we're close to that right now at all. I don't think it's going to be an ask, but I'd like to try the path of least resistance and more efficient prior to just hiring somebody as a part-time basis. So I think it's I think everybody working together and talking about and going over the actual duties. This is not just an idea. This is something we've been discussing for a few weeks. So I wanted to come to the board and say this is how I'd like to use the money to take care of the same tasks that we're trying to do.
So we had approved that part-time
Yes, ma'am.
clerical person,
Correct.
right?
Yep.
So what you're basically saying is 10 overtime hours a week should get you everything that...
So we sat down, yes, because what we did is we actually had the 2, we had Diana, who's our manager, in there along with the 2 clerical positions to rewrite exactly what all the responsibilities are, to include these things that we're incorporating in there. They are familiar with them. We gave them time to have a full understanding of what's entailed with all these. We sat down with the lieutenant, with the captain, with the deputy chief, myself, and discussed it all. And then we went over the hours, went over the numbers, talked to Marisa about it to see if it made sense also. And we also took time to talk to Jim about it in the finance department to see if these numbers made sense. We did the numbers, and I felt that they worked, and then we went to Jim to make sure that we were correct.
And it's saving money.
It should save money. If we don't have to hire someone new and we utilize personnel we currently have, it just makes sense to try this. What we want as a department is we want to reach our 3- and 5-year goals. We reached most all of them for our 3rd year. This is one of them. We're a little bit over on that, but it's, I think we can reach it with current personnel.
And they're willing to work those extra
Yes,
every
they
week.
are. Yeah, they're actually excited to the fact of being challenged with these things, being able to be part of doing things that are,
Police related?
and the things that we're doing. they're a great bunch. We're very, very fortunate to have them.
How long do you think you would need to evaluate this? I mean, not fully vet it, but just,
So I think when you look at things like the training, filing, and things of that nature, I think I need a full budget year to see how that's working, what's going on with that. When it comes to the
but do you think you could get a sense in like 6 months, 3 months?
Absolutely. I could. And we're looking at a retirement in one of those positions, so we're gonna have to fill that with a new person. And it's gonna be, it's a nice transition, because you have somebody that's been having a certain job description for many, many years. Now we've redesigned the job description, we'll be hiring for that job description and filling it. Sometimes that's a nice fit with doing different things, so I
It
think.
won't be hard at 40 hours a week.
Excuse me?
It won't be hard with the demanded overtime to hire a new person.
I mean,
I don't know, I mean,
Yeah,
to
I
me, a
mean,
40-hour work week is nice, you know?
Yeah.
But,
We were pretty successful with our last hire, which she's been fantastic. We're lucky to have her. I think we'll do all right, to be honest. And no, I think I can come to you 3 to 6 months and tell you how we're doing. But a couple of things when it comes to, I would like to have the captain's input on how it's helping with the accreditation aspect of it also.
So maybe one of those things at like end of summer-ish, early fall, we just check in again.
Early fall would be perfect.
Yeah,
That would be okay.
just, and I'm not trying to stress you like, let's do it
Nope,
this
not at all.
date.
They're
Sometime
really
like that.
receptive and open. We have continuous meetings to talk about where we are, where we need to be, and they've been really receptive and working really hard, so I don't think that's a hard bar to me.
That'd be easy, so then we can just kind of be clued in and just make sure there's nothing, no gotchas coming at 11th hour. that
Absolutely.
neither
So I'll
of
look at
us-
September, October meeting. We'll make sure that we get all the metrics, and we need to go over any questions that you have.
Yeah, and really, it's gonna be on you for the metrics. I mean, we're not gonna set metrics. We're gonna go off of what you say as usual, and just say, yeah, this looks like it's working really well, and the people we've got in place are working great. We'd like to keep going forward.
We kind of feel that you know what you're doing.
I appreciate it.
There's no money involved.
I do want to check one thing, though.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
So the memo that we got said that the existing staff should be able to absorb some of the additional duties. But the way you described it this evening, it sounds like it's all.
When I say some of the additional duties, those are the duties we've already discussed that we're gonna pay. So we're not taking all of those support staff duties from the uniform staff. It's taking some of them off of the uniform staff. I'm looking for the balance, so if I have a lieutenant who's a patrol lieutenant, that the patrol lieutenant has time that they can actually go out in the road and be a patrol lieutenant. If I can still have them doing support staff duties along with their patrol duties, and find that balance is working, we don't need to pull it all off.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I just make sure you're not
That's
saying
fine.
some of what the original plan with the part-time position, you're saying all of those
Correct.
duties. Okay, all right, that's what I was.
And I apologize for that confusion, that's on me.
Okay, all right, got it. Thank you.
Further questions? So I think the sense I'm getting, and if anyone has a different sense, please voice it, is that we're supportive of your proposal, Chief. Go forward and we'll check in the early fall and just make sure it's still working as you guys think it's going to. And other than that, there's no reason to change anything that you're planning on.
Thank you very much.
Anyone, any contrary opinion? No? Okay, I've got,
Thank you very much.
thanks, Chief. Can I just say we're adjourned? All right, next item on the agenda is discussion vote on which projects to fund with 2025 bond issuance. Danielle, do you want to just refresh people what the Board of Selectmen did, please?
So you all have in front of you amazing spreadsheet
Thanks for not making it a 4-point font.
that Stacy helped make readable. But no, so the following what you all said, we had internal department head meetings where we went through and kind of like we tried to follow a similar SIP process where we went through and like discussed all the projects, rated, prioritized, talked about timelines, tried to firm up some numbers. And so what you have, and then we also met with the school team and really appreciate Steve, especially, Steve's tired of talking to me. Steve and Alicia and Mary and everybody coming to meet with Jim and I. So we tried to combine everything to make it easy for everybody. So we went through and we rated everything that was an A priority that we really think should be funded for the first phase. I know we had originally talked about 7.5. You'll see it's more like 8.6 now. But again, some things which we can talk about came up that were not expected on the town side. And then we then also went through and rated what we thought would be a top priority and our best estimate for phase 2. So still keeping it within that $15.5 million cap. And then we did, you'll see, push a few things out to a future SIP for discussion. But for example, like the Home Street projects, or because we actually think we need a lot more community input before we even decide if we are going forward with those or not. It came up as part of a resiliency discussion that we had through a grant with Circa. So it's not just that we were just trying to make the numbers fit. Some things we really think need more time. But so what we did was the Board of Selectmen met, Deb, Ben, and I last week, and we went through and we approved everything. I think it's in your notes, but I think Debbie did make a motion that it was kind of contingent on, obviously it's contingent on all of your approval, but contingent also on the school side providing some more information to you, which I think they have since that time. I think Tim and I talked, it was your idea, so you can share it, but I thought it was a good idea that we kind of approved it point blank on our side, but maybe it would be smart to set some sort of threshold. So if it's over, say, $200,000, we come back and have that specifically approved. So if, we then, but it allows.
Just to clarify, the
Yep.
idea was that you can spend immediately
Yeah.
up to $200,000. After that, we expect a formal bid package to come in.
Right.
So that does the engineering, that's just not a blank check for
Anything. And I
$8
think,
million.
like we always come to you and talk about things if things change, but if it's basically within what we expected it to be, we could at least get started on this stuff. We don't have to have department heads, everybody coming back. We know, again, we'll get to the conversation, but say with the example with the portables, Steve could get started on some of the work he needs to do to figure out placement, all the final details and everything, right, if you guys approve it, starting immediately. But then you guys still have obviously some safety net, your fiduciary duty to look at everything to be sure, we're not, we actually overspent by, $600,000 or whatever it might be. So, but you'll see, I think it's.
That's for every project.
Every project.
Let's be clear that we're not singling, my suggestion was not singling any one project out, because I'm looking at cost of steel getting now 50% tariffs as of today. All these bridges, all these constructions that we've got, these numbers are invalid as of right now.
Yeah, well, they were not valid anyway.
They weren't valid anyway, they were based on estimates, so.
That's where that 200 threshold came in, DPW needs to do a study about ventilation to be sure it's a safety issue. This is just phase 1 of an engineering plan that will get us to, which I know you guys hate, but another engineering plan that will eventually lead us to construction, but it's how we have to do it. So this allows them to go forward with that and not have to then get, Jeff, Chris, and Tom back here for your July or August meeting to approve it. So we tried to look at where the threshold was, and 200,000 seemed fair. That's a thing for you guys to discuss. The only thing we discussed on the Board of Selectmen level, like I said, was we approved all the A's. The phase 2 B's are really just for kind of, so you can understand where we're thinking with things. It is all also within the cap. But this is, I think, a lot of really important work that people are really excited to see get started, and then a lot of it will inform our next phase of work.
So, isn't there a part 2 of this? So what if this estimate here is grossly underestimated, and something that's billed out at $500,000 turns out to be $1 million? We need some mechanism to contend with that.
Yeah.
So
That's where also
approvals tonight would be subject to something.
Well, anything over 200,000, definitely have to come back and get the final approval for, like we said, with bids, with anything we do.
Let me
Yeah.
take it over now.
Yeah.
What my suggestion is to the Board of Finance is that we approve releasing, and I'm looking at your spreadsheet here, Danielle, it looks more like 8.8 million for the phase 1. Yeah, you're.
It's an extra few $100,000.
Yeah, amongst friends here, let's just share another couple $100,000. I am confused about those 2 different contingency,
Yeah.
20%.
There's
And
2
I'm
different
confused
columns.
what that is saying. Column I and column K.
Yeah, you have another column on there for the same column heading.
I added that.
Oh, for
Okay.
vastly different numbers.
Yeah, I'm not sure I'm following either of those.
I can speak to, I put in, it was a 20% contingency on all the projects we thought we needed a contingency, unless it noted, like, one bridge has a 30% already built in, so we didn't add a contingency there. Like, I noted contingency already in,
Yeah.
otherwise we had a 20%.
Well, all right, so should we just ignore the
What
other
is
one?
column K?
I just didn't change, I just copy and pasted that title, that should have been total project cost.
Oh.
Okay. That is what has completely confused me.
So, yeah. But what we're looking at is the 8 point.
Because they don't add through, Jim. Like, the heating system for the transfer station is 19,000, contingency is 3,800, and the column K is 19,000.
Column K is just the same thing as the
It's
planned
just,
amount.
it's
the
just
phase
the
one.
same as the phase one amount, looks like.
There's no sum going on
Don't
here.
look at that then. Just
It
look
does-
at-
It's kind of a board of finance that needs to know numbers, last I checked.
The spreadsheet that I made and I'm looking at right now that I shared with you, I would say don't look at K unless Jim has a reason to, because I mean, column F is phase
Well,
one
I think
amount.
What Jim was trying to do, Jim, if I'm understanding what you're saying, is you were trying to sum column I, which is a 20% contingency, onto the project cost and give a
I
total
already
project
did
cost.
that in column F. So if you go all the way down to the bottom, there's the total of 8.2 million. The contingency, which is added up of just the phase one contingencies, is below that at 601,550 to get you to that total of the 8.8 million.
So within the 19,000, there's a $3,800
Yeah.
contingency.
Yeah, but the
It's
ones
a
that are silent about the contingency also have a 20% contingency.
Where's the, I can't even see it.
Is that added in
I
there?
can't read this, where's the heating stuff, guys?
Sorry,
Row 7.
Lynn, what'd you say?
So the ones that are blank in your column there, for the
Yeah.
contingencies, the way I read that, it's 20% unless noted, but the 20% is not put in there.
So for some of them, I didn't put in the contingency because they're like, either at that time they were very high level
Yeah.
numbers or we.
But most of these are not 20%, right? So on the first one, facility, 400,000. Is there supposed to be an $80,000 contingency in there too?
No, because that one, the notes are really small, but like that one was an estimate because we didn't get the bids in yet. So like, that's why I was like, I'm not putting a contingency in something that's a placeholder number. That's a new one that we need to talk about. That's a
Okay,
bigger, but to look at one that's like more, like Togwamp Road Bridge is 170, there's no contingency because that's a real number. That's a invoice from an engineering firm. We know how much the engineering's gonna cost.
Okay, so the contingency 20% unless noted is, noted would be zero, but it doesn't say zero. Okay.
Yeah, sorry. It
That's
said NA or.
Yeah, the contingency is in the total, the contingencies are in column, well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever column that was. I was just trying to double check,
Double check my math.
No, I get what you were doing.
Yeah,
So, Jim, what does this do to our budget? So we're increasing the amount that we thought we were gonna draw down, and we're doing it sooner than we imagined, right?
Was it to our budget?
Yeah, we're gonna have bond payments.
Oh, yeah, what did we do? Did we
So
split
we
it?
have more bond payments and earlier, so.
What did we split it, 7.5, 7.5?
Yeah,
So
Yeah.
our interest is gonna go up maybe,
I don't know when you were planning to draw it down to begin with.
probably not till August.
Okay, so it's not much.
Maybe you're looking at another $30,000 in interest.
I figured 50 maybe, but, because I thought you said you were gonna draw it down in the fall.
We've been talking about sooner might be better given the world.
I definitely think sooner is better. but-
I
It was
talked,
a lot of it was contingent on this, because we have enough money that we can start, we can approve stuff now, we can start using money for engineering, that we don't even need the bond for. We can fund it with the bonds later. We'll spend the money out of the bond fund with $0, I'll just have it, borrow it from the general fund. 'Cause we got a lot of-
No,
Yep,
I know, but
yep.
at one point, we were thinking we were gonna do lesser an amount and further out in the future. So the difference by accelerating it in a higher amount, we think is something between $30,000 and $40,000.
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Which is a cheap insurance policy considering what's going on in the world.
Yeah, I
Um,
agree.
So are we gonna go through these item by item, or are we just gonna, like, questions on specific,
Well,
how do
let's
we want-
take the 500-pound gorilla on, okay?
What's
And
that?
The portable classrooms.
How is that a gorilla? We already said
I
we
don't
were
think
gonna
it's,
do
I don't think, well, it's what a lot of people are here for, and I think they would feel better if we addressed that initially.
that. Let's get it out of the way. We said we would do it.
So, I don't know if it's Steve or Marianne or who's,
Expensive.
so, what we're, hang on, this thing isn't scrolling.
Looks like he's on a firing squad.
Right.
Really?
It was Steve or I. Where the hell is this damn thing?
Who's on the machine?
I'm not sure. Why am I not finding it? I can't do that. What, okay, I guess the question that I get asked most, what really is our cost we're looking at this thing?
For purchasing the portables?
For
All of it, putting them down.
totality of the.
So the totality is, so,
Chunk it, sorry.
chunk it, so the total cost of purchase is with engineer drawing, well, I'll take that back, with setting on site and delivery is 662,000, supplying power, alarms, putting gutters on the building, running an access road for the fire department around the portable to meet the old existing fire road, comes to 900, the total, including the 662, is 960,578.
Turnkey.
Which is in your
Turnkey.
spreadsheet.
Yeah, but so there's actually, so I mean, maybe it's a time to ask this question. So there's actually two quotes, so I've had two quotes based on Sourcewell. One, I believe, is 100% Sourcewell, I'm not sure, I'm verifying with the other one.
Does everyone know what Sourcewell is?
Sourcewell is a state bid, it's a pre-bid, can you explain it?
State approved bid list.
Okay.
So we've used it for IT in the past.
State contract.
It's not a complete state contract, it doesn't come from DAS, but it is an approved,
But it's for the classrooms, because they can't know our site conditions.
right.
Right, so that's as well as for the classrooms.
Sourcewell is for the modular building itself, you know, based off of that contract they gave me pricing, because right now the cost for me to hire an architect to go out and bid is 35,000. So they would write a spec for the building, they would send it out, and that's roughly, I called Colliers today because I figured this would be a question, is actually about 35,000, and I asked if CLA, who I've already hired, would actually write that, and they said, no, they're a civil engineer, 5 feet from the building, but a building itself would have to be an architect written. There's 3 contractors involved in the total project. It would be the modular contractor, the site work, and the electrician who run the power, and obviously the alarm guy, 4 contractors. 5, got a contractor. Got a contractor, they would be the gutter guy, so. Yeah, right, so there's minimum contractors, so if we went out a bid, it would actually probably end up going to a general contractor to do the job, because it wouldn't be going out a bid for each individual item in the project. If we took on as the school managed the project, used a reference to contract to move forward, it would require 2 bid approvals, I believe, to move forward. And obviously the bid approval on the.
Bid waiver, you mean?
Bid waiver, yeah. Right. So that, with the expediter, I feel like going back and restarting and having an architect redraw it all back up and go out, that would be something I would bring forward next.
So if I'm looking at the numbers here, you're looking at $960,000.
Yes, sir.
$961,000 right now.
Yes, sir.
So you're looking at $1 million. This went from $600,000 to $1 million.
No, so actually, I actually have the price where it originally, so it's going through a bond, which means I have to purchase it.
Yep.
That's exactly what you said.
Yep.
So the 3-year rental cost, originally back where we were, including the rent, actually meets the original budget, $462,780 with logistics on top of that, which was $200,000. That includes the rental fees for 3 years. So that was the option. This is a purchase for 5. It's a different, completely different ballgame, so.
But here's what I'm gonna say, we've got a lot of letters in support of supporting this.
Right.
In most all those letters, they stipulated that Tuxet is not inhabitable again. Is that the position that the administration is saying? Because we want to know that answer so that we can make a decision on.
It can't be a full middle school anymore at this point. It can be inhabited, it is being inhabited. There's
Right.
work that needs to be done if we continue
So
to
the
inhabit it.
administration's position is that they're gonna be at Field Street for a long time.
Correct.
Possibly the amortization of the bond. That's 20 years.
At least 5 years, because we're suggesting to purchase these, and it's a 5-year plan. So we'll buy
Yeah, the
them.
alternative is a new school in 5 years. There's no pipeline for that.
We understand,
Okay.
we understand.
All right,
We
just, well, we
need-
want to make sure you understand, everyone else in here does too, what you're signing up for. Because you have a lot of other space and
And it's,
this Tuxet.
but the amount of money that you're gonna have to put in there in order to have the children return in full force is gonna outweigh
You
what
want
you're
to
gonna.
spend a minute talking about that?
Do you wanna go through the whole? You do. So, Okay. I think we've talked a lot about it, but I'm more than willing to
Just
go.
the
Just-
highlights.
just
Okay.
Because they were in there a year ago, right?
So,
what
yeah,
happened in the
correct.
ensuing year?
Correct.
But remember, I just want to back up with the big picture here of why this has all happened. And it's the new facilities director who is seeing things with a new lens at Tuxet as well as the other buildings. So we're not here to talk about the other buildings, but he has uncovered things that needed to be repaired that were not seen. Yes, yes, that were not seen by I'm sorry. previous people. I can work from home, it'd save a lot of money. And really, when you think.
Change the glasses prescription,
He was only here, I think, 6 weeks or so before the floor issue surfaced, and even up till last week, you found another thing. And I gotta admit, actually, before we noticed that there was a deflection in the second floor, I think it was week number 2 of my employment, when I came for you guys, and I asked to change the bond for a facility study on that building, which thankfully I didn't get into too much trouble for doing because the board had approved for something else. That was just walking through the building, listening. I mean, it's like a mechanic listening to an engine. You know it's not right. The ventilation was horrible. It was whistling. Some rooms had no ventilation. Some rooms had the ventilation. And it was due a facility study. It was at the point, it coincided with the failure of the floor, but it was at the point of, it's either remodel it, go back through it, and restart. I feel that the school, as it stands right now, doesn't have the life or the, let's say, the frame to go through another renovation. It doesn't. And the current air system right now is we're actually in the middle of being closed back down again due to the failure of the damper system. During that study, we found 4 rooms that actually had supply air but no return air. So they put a supply duct in, so all these years it's just been supplied. And just like filling up any pressurized bottle, once that capacity of the air met that room, if the door was closed in the room, it didn't get any more air. There was no relief for the air pressure. So it's just, and right now the damper system that's failed, I feel like I'm even uncomfortable repairing it. So I have
Now we're talking about fire damage?
yeah, well, it's everything in the building. It's not just, so everybody keeps looking at the foundation. My job is to look at the total picture of the building. So for the kids to come back for, as you say, 5 years, it could be 20 years. Could be 2. That school is going to take investment. My average calculation for 10 years is about $2 million a year based on when it needs done. So it's going to cost the town $2 million a year on average to keep that building open.
And what's Pawcatuck going to cost us per year? Because when you go look at it,
I
you gotta find the
actually
same
did
stuff.
put in the sheet that we need lintels in Pawcatuck, there's a boiler in Pawcatuck. But the only difference between Pawcatuck and 204, it's like you actually have a building with life left in it. So when you invest in a 204, it's already got 20 years till end if we paid the $2.5 million to repair the foundation, or the 1.5 to 2.5. I just want to make sure everybody is aware too that when we had our last conversation with Fuss and O'Neill, the whole idea of up to 10 years, if we just ignore the foundation and not even talk about the 1.5 million to 2.5 million to fix the floating portion of the building, yes, it might have up to 10 years if we could get the air to work and all of the other things to get the kids back in there. However, he also said, with the continued weather patterns that we're having, you could have a failure and have to get the kids out of there within 2 years because the stairwell could twist.
Right.
So we can't have.
No,
No, this
it
was
was
in our
a-
latest
it's a-
conversation with him. But that's what, again, we can't have this ping pong back and forth. We've already cannibalized that building, taken all the technology out of it, moved it over, lost a whole season of Chris's department, of Steve's department, making that move happen. It doesn't make any sense financially. It doesn't make any sense for the stability of the program.
So what you guys want to do is be at Field Street.
Correct, correct.
Understanding that could be a long time.
Correct.
Right.
Well, and also, David, I just want to make sure that that is in a parallel path with the building committee being formed. Because we know that this is the medium, the short-term medium solution, is the portables. But we also know that there needs to be.
This is gonna be a medium long.
Well, there needs to be a building committee formed to look at what the viable options are, because remember, also, our high school was built in 1955 and was renovated, I believe, in '02. So it's time for people to look at all of these schools and figure out what the long-term plan is gonna be for them.
Right.
Especially.
The high school, most of the high school was torn down and replaced
But it still
20
is,
years ago.
It's still,
It's still-
right, right.
trust
And
me,
that might
20
be-
years is not
I
new
don't know,
anymore.
but that might be the facility that becomes a middle school, high school. I don't know. That you've got your fields there. You might want to look at efficiencies for flexible staffing as the census goes down. There's a lot to consider, and that's not my job. That's the job of the committee.
But do you have a plan?
I'm sorry, David.
Dave was
Yeah, we-
asking a question.
Thank you. In the report, it said if you get the portable classrooms, the cost of updating the Pawcatuck School is going to be more, because there are other things. I think you mentioned the windows, there's no, you talked about, there's no library, there's no.
Well, the library's there, David. It's just not being used as a library.
Okay, but there are going to be more costs to this after the portable classrooms. Correct?
That would be any
I mean, you
building,
can't-
Dave. I mean, any building that we have in the town, just as we go through it, whether it would be the HVAC system at any building in the town, it's just gonna be constant repair costs. The building structure is 1938, it's a solid foundation. We have swollen lintels, they were never galvanized back in 1938, the rust getting it on was above the windows. The windows are 30 years old. If you're gonna take the lintel out, it's replace the windows, that would be a cost.
but what's the useful life of that building? Sorry to.
That's a good thing, I could pay the 25,000 and we could, if you want to know that, I mean, useful life right now is it's a solid building. It was built in 1938, there's no structural issues, which I did do a structural study on it before we moved the kids back there, so we weren't going to do a flip-flop. So without any structural issues, I guess as long as the space can provide a service to the town, it's the town building for as long as we can use it. But as a school, I can't answer that question.
It's going to require a new boiler too, I believe.
Yes, it is.
You know.
And I planned that over 4 years unknowing what was happening, and I really pushed that out as far as I could because I didn't know what the town's decision was going to be on that building where in the long term, so I tried to give the town some time to make decisions before I put the wrong size boiler in.
But when you say, oh, sorry.
Yeah, so two questions on the portables. So the first, is it a recommendation to actually purchase outright? Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, that meets the bond requirement, yes.
Okay. So, and then the second question is placement of those portables. So knowing that more has to be done, right? And that we have to consider expansion and additional flexibility moving forward. Do you have a plan that puts those portables in a place that leaves options open?
So the only, I mean, me personally, and this is, I'm not a
Structural engineer.
Right, and I'm not
Or
an
an
architect, right? So the only, and I hate to say this out loud, so the average lot for a middle school is around 20 acres, that's a 10-acre lot in general. So that's your school size. By the time you get parking lots in, 2 soccer fields, and could be football fields, it doesn't have, or lacrosse fields, but it doesn't have to be soccer. So wherever the fields are, you got your sports fields, your parking, your fire road for the fire marshal going around the building. It usually eats up quite a bit of land. there is a land constriction on that property, so there isn't a lot of room to put portables around that school. We're trying our best to put them in that location that is not going to be in the way for a renovation, which is not hard, it's not easy to do. I feel like if that building was to be renovated, if the town ever did spend money there and extended it, it would end up taking up the soccer field, or the field adjacent to the building. Sorry, I know you don't want to hear that. I feel like the extension would go to because we can't take the parking lots away, there's no parking as is.
Yeah,
You know.
in a sense, what extent would the portables need to be moved around?
Yeah, the portables will be in,
Utilities and everything.
Be in the way.
they'll be in the way. No, they'll be by the chorus room, so they're right at the chorus room. As you come out of the exit at the chorus room, they're right there. So it's
So if
actually,
you're facing the front of the
Yeah.
proper front of the building, it's on the left-hand side.
in the back.
Okay.
And there's
Yeah.
bathrooms there right at the exit, which
Right.
also makes it helpful for.
And there, I
It's
try,
not renovations, it would have been additions,
yeah.
right? It's gonna be sitting in that corner.
The addition would be on the field of
But not the portal.
No, absolutely not, absolutely not. They're not on the fields, they're not, the portables, no.
Well, when you give an analysis that it's $2 million a year for Ms. Tuxet, you can't compare that to zero, because it's gonna be zero
No,
on the
you're
other side.
100%, so, I mean, so, for me, give an analysis on that building, as of right now, it is, overall, it is going to come up for an HVAC update at some point in its life. No, none of them are, no.
There's window units
Yeah, window units at
at Field Street.
Field Street.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it's not central air.
No.
Because that was, in your memo, you talk about if we go back to Ms. Tuxet, there's this long-term cost of air conditioning.
I don't think, I did not pay air conditioning on that cost.
It was the air balance and the.
The ventilation,
No,
just
there's
the,
something in there about,
It's about the HVAC system overall and the.
yeah, it's not AC.
oh, that wasn't AC?
No,
That was
you're-
8.8 million just for.
Yeah, because you got no ductwork, so basically, so you got 2 floors, that the engineers say have no more static load allowance. You can't tape a penny to them. So there's no more load on them floors, they're already they're deflected, so it replaced them floors approximately 400 feet, going by what we're using for 50 feet, which is $300,000. So if you times that, divide that by 50 is 6,000 times 400 is 2.4 million, just to replace the floor so we can put ductwork on it.
Speaking for myself, I'm not gonna make the decision for you, that's your job.
Yeah, right,
But-
and I just,
Yeah, but a very good thing we didn't put an air conditioning system into Ms. Tuxet. Too bad we put 2 new boilers into that, but we have other utilities for that from the town perspective. So if this is what you guys are choosing to do and abandoning that school, town has use for, a hefty chunk of that building, which I think you're gonna hear us take, because we think it's safe enough for,
Well, the
You know.
floor's gonna get fixed before.
well, we're gonna do that, we're gonna give you that in the bond.
And I'm sure Danielle and I could work something out. We have space. I
Yeah.
mean, we're looking at also hopefully expanding Allison's program. So we would be looking to go upstairs, so.
yeah, and
We wouldn't be able to work out, Danielle and I.
I don't want to work with you.
and also we're,
Yeah, and I just want everybody here to understand that this is a long-term fix. I'm gonna say yes to the money to give it to you, because we told you we were gonna do that, and it's your option, it's your decision to make,
Right.
based on what you want.
it's the financially right decision you make right now because of the condition of the building that we're been asked to move by. Like, the considering moving back to that building, it makes for more financial sense not to do that because of the condition of the building and the investment for the town to stay for even 5 years in that building. The cost of moving back is way higher than putting a portable in.
But we're not in a position to say
Yeah,
20 years, like,
right.
we're not in a
Right.
position here to make it.
No, but we're not, I don't think we're asking that. What I'm saying is there's more than financial impact here.
Right.
Okay? And you're making a decision based on financial is one aspect of it, which we appreciate because we're the fiduciary.
Right.
But there are more considerations that are there. Space, accessibility, safety, all the things that we know. So what you're saying, what I'm hearing is you want to stay at Field Street and put the money in there. Now, that is not saying in absence of doing anything at Miss Tuxet. I am not representing you that way.
Right.
But what I am saying is that's what I'm hearing, and that you're committing to that, to be at Field Street for a long time. That's where you're going to be. So these portables become.
Do these portables have any resale value, or let's say, you come up with a
We
plan?
looked at used
Buy
portables.
a lot.
I mean, I've been asked if we can reuse them in somewhere in the town, if they were never used in the school, they could be moved and be temporary offices for somebody else. That depends on the life point. It's about, depending on where they're being moved, it's about $60,000 to $70,000 to disassemble them, trailerize them, and move them.
Yeah, because at some point down the road, you're gonna wanna get out of these.
Right,
I mean,
right,
This is
right.
not gonna be your
Well, we have a 5-year lease with the town engineer's trailer.
Yeah, exactly.
When you say that you're gonna wanna get out of them eventually, you don't think this is gonna be permanent? So what's gonna,
Permanent until
well, I
either
mean,
addition or.
you're gonna have these there, and so you feel that there's gonna be a point in time where you're not gonna need these anymore. That's what you're saying?
We're saying that there's going to be a point in time, hopefully in the very near future, there'll be a K-12 building committee that will study the long-term needs of all the schools with a special focus on the middle school. Right, a study. I'm saying what I'm looking for is the formation of a K-12 building committee whose job it is to study all of the possibilities, including what we are putting together as our educational specifications on what we believe is needed.
So it's $1 million approximately for these portables. And you're hoping that there'll be a point in time where you don't need them anymore. And so.
Yeah, but that point in time, maybe 10, 20 years from now.
Yeah,
Right, we don't know.
this seems like this would be a long-term.
That's what they're saying.
But of course,
They're committing to that.
the number of kids in the schools has been declining over the last 10 years. And it may still continue to decline.
The other piece, David,
Yeah,
so as part of these educational specifications that are being put together, we were at one new middle school today, just to try and get to ideas about what's being built and what's good about them, what's bad about them. We've also been in contact with the town planner, who is going to be contributing to the ed specs on the projections of what the housing developments are going to, how they're going to impact the school system. So as much as everybody's saying it's been declining, it has. Will it change? Will that change with all the building that's happening, especially on the Pawcatuck side of town? I don't know that. He's going to be putting that piece together for us.
That's also something that the building committee will
It's all
get
going to be part
into,
of the
because
study.
the first thing the last building committee did was, DRA did a analysis of all the schools. One chapter was demographics. So, and we've actually declined faster than they thought we would.
Well, we can only deal with what we know today.
Right, yeah, right.
So long as everybody's clear that that's the choice, and we're not gonna be flip-flop, like, we've been to Miss Tuxet, now we're back at Field, we're not going back to Miss Tuxet, then just deal with this. Oh, question though, what about the desks and everything else that has to go into a classroom? Is that in this number?
No, it's not. I figured there would be enough upstairs because there was obviously less rooms upstairs.
Not all the furniture from 204 went to Miss Tuxet because there was some, from 204 went to Field because there was some at Field.
But there's all kinds of technology and stuff, right?
So I included roughly about, what was the estimate, about 25,000
Yeah, you've got some data.
for data wiring in the.
And it's
Yeah.
4 classrooms, so
Fancy boards,
Yeah.
but it's only 4,
Yep.
so it's not.
We also have some
Oh, so it
money.
is 4 classrooms. So
It is.
In one building. No. Originally, Lynn, that's what you're remembering, is there was originally, it was either 2 buildings with 2 classrooms in each, or 1 building with 4 classrooms, and we went with the 1 building with 4 classrooms idea because it makes more sense from the getting the utilities out there and all of that.
Okay, so it's only gonna be one portable?
No.
It's one
Building,
structure.
four classrooms.
It's four, believe it or not, no, make it it's 4 separate buildings, they join together, they make one. So,
One structure.
What's the square footage?
3,640 square feet. So it's, no. So that's about where we're at,
3,640?
40 square feet. One portable building, purchased by size, one came in at 3,640, one came in at 3,584, so in the pricing range.
But they come in sections, right,
Yeah.
Steve, is what I think that's where the confusion is, when people are calling it one
Yeah,
building.
yeah.
They're in sections that you then, for lack of a better term, bolt together and make
Yeah,
one
and
larger,
roof,
one single,
Yep,
for conceptual, one single structure.
with no gutters.
So apart from not being connected to the cafeteria and the gym and all that stuff, they're real classrooms.
Yes.
Right,
To the kid, it's on.
Yes.
Okay.
yeah.
It won't be connected to the existing building?
No,
No, because I have to run sprinkler pipes at that point, and a sprinkler,
that's an addition.
yeah, that would be different. So in case you were trying to calculate it out, it's 251 a square foot for one, 237 a square foot for the other one. That's what you were asking.
So you feel pretty good about your numbers? Your level of
I
confidence?
do, I feel a lot more confident than I did before, and like I said, I'm honest, when I didn't feel comfortable, I told you, I do feel comfortable at this point, that we're pretty close. I've had contractors on site, I've got realistic numbers for logistics or utilities. I must admit, the bid package, or the pricing that came in from the portables, even though they all speak the same language, how they bunched their pricing was a little complicated, but how would I buy a car with 6,000 options than buy a portable, you know? So they do sell the same stuff, but the language and how they price it and bundle it is different. So
How do you climate control these?
they come with their own heating and air conditioning units. It's like a heat pump system, just like a hotel, where it's actually a penetration in the building. So each classroom's going to have its own. It is electric,
We're gonna have
but,
a higher operating cost too.
right, I had calculated that on one of the sheets, because I figured, but not in this sheet, sorry. I did calculate the difference in electric load. The only thing good about purchasing the portables is most portables come with a single phase to 128, 240 service. But our building's 208, so we're purchasing them all out around 208, which would lead to savings on wiring and trying to get the building connected, so.
No, so it's gonna still be
Still
single
gonna be-
phase.
Oh,
No,
it's
we're gonna
gonna
get a
be-
three-phase,
three
pretty much,
phase.
a lot of, because we're buying it now. Before,
Right, yeah.
it was meant to be single phase, but now I can order 3-phase, because we're purchasing, which will alleviate some cost. Yeah, I can connect right to the building, because we're 3-phase, it's nice.
Will our solar be up and running at all next year?
No.
That may offset once the solar.
No, to that building, no.
No, not that, the others.
Yeah, it could be. It's probably about a year and a half from initiation till we get out. It's about a year and a half project. So
So
we get moving on that.
we aren't connecting them to the building.
What?
The portables aren't.
No, they're gonna have a covered walkway with a ramp entry. So right now, what I'm waiting for is a foundation plan that I can put in the on-site and get a location for the portable, because I have to meet the handicap rise and the ramp for distance with the drop in the land from the sidewalk. So I'm trying to do it in a one ramp access. But it'll be a covered walkway to a covered alcove that's actually there at that point. So we had the police on site.
Don't get too far.
Okay. We've reviewed it and we've come up with a solution, and with the police, the principal, on site. So we did review that, yes.
We meet with them every month.
I just want to come back on the lease versus buy. So in the memo you said, you know, the purchase, outright purchase, which you're recommending, is between $860 and 960.
Yes, sir.
And then the 3-year lease is 770,000.
Yep.
5-year lease is 1.1 million. So
Yep.
so your break even lease versus buy is somewhere around roughly 4 years, let's call it.
Right.
So
We couldn't lease with a bond, though.
true, but we can move money.
There's
We
money
could
we can
go
move, yes.
different routes if we needed to. So I guess what's implied is that, you know, you're thinking you've got 4 years, and if you don't think there's much of a resale on these things, that you're planning on at least 4 years of these portables. So
Right,
that's why I'm
right.
checking that.
That's a really good question, yes.
Yeah.
I mean, it's what I mean, you're sitting holding the cards on what the budget would present for the town in the future. You wouldn't be able to answer that question. How long we're going to have them portables, probably easier than I could, you know? I mean, I think.
But if you're making the recommendation that we go with the purchase, I assume someone's done that same math.
Yeah,
You know,
I mean,
on your end, you
assuming
said,
that
hey, it's better to, yeah.
we're assuming that it's a longer term than 4 years to be in them portables, yes.
Okay.
Well, yeah, because a 20-year bond doesn't pay for a 4-year
Right.
thing, right? We don't buy cars with it, we don't do stuff like that, so.
Right.
The presumption here is that it basically, you know, that there's a universe in which it matches the duration of the bond.
Right.
Again, we aren't making a 20-year decision.
That's right.
No.
Just to be
We are.
clear, like.
That's why we are,
Yeah.
so, okay.
But to us,
Meaning the bond is a
to
20-year
Mike's
bond.
point, we looked at it as, we know we need them for at
We
least
have to
3
do
years.
something.
Yeah.
We have to do something, we know we need them for at least 3 years. It makes more financial sense to buy them than it
But once
does
you
to
own them
lease
and you
for
put
5
the
years.
infrastructure in, even if your enrollment goes down, you're gonna want more space, right?
Right.
Why would you get rid of them? Unless you're
Right.
getting a new school, which I don't see a pipeline for that in 4 years, so, or 5 years. So why would you,
Right.
you'd keep them, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Unless your
Yeah.
enrollment fell by half or something, but that's not
They
very
usually
good.
end up being storage for the town, that's previous school.
Ultimately, but
That's what
while
they
you're
end up, they
operating
be in
a school-
storage buildings.
Just to remind everybody, West Vine and Dean's Mill had portable classrooms for 20 years. I mean,
Right, right.
It's part of why my generation got those elementary schools rebuilt.
So, I mean, we're trying our best to move forward with the best plan possible that makes the most financial sense for what we have.
With what we have.
And have the safest, best supply of fresh air and environment for the
And
kids.
safety.
And
Probably
safety.
better than your,
Pardon?
probably better than your in-house classroom.
Right. I don't know.
All right.
I don't get a sense from the board that anyone is opposed to this. Okay. But that's it.
Okay.
No, stay, because now we're gonna.
Hey, there's other stuff.
Now we're gonna go to Ms. Tuxton. Steve's leaving.
He's like, wait, Mike, I get a piece of paper. Good luck.
Anyone who's here for the portables, I can tell you, that decision is made, so don't feel you need to stay to listen to the rest of all of this. So, we got 397, 900 in for the second floor, I missed out.
How much?
317.
217, sir.
Okay, that's, what's in ours?
Maybe that's what the contingency is?
There is a contingency.
No, contingency's in there, is
We
what
didn't submit a contingency.
Danielle put it in.
Danielle
Okay.
made one up.
Okay.
Okay, that's why our numbers don't match. Okay, so we've got it in at 397 with a contingency already in there.
Okay.
What this supposed to?
I'm just going on your spreadsheet.
couldn't hear you.
You put 20% in
You
there.
got that one wrong, sorry.
Right,
That one was
right.
just not a contingency, that was just a wrong hearing.
No, you said contingency already in there.
You
It's about 20%.
wrote it in there that it, yeah.
Yeah, but did the 319 have a contingency or?
The 317,
did not.
right, no, I did not.
Okay,
And we
all
had- I did not put contingency in that.
Okay, so the 397 has a contingency in there.
Yes, the 317 does not.
Yeah,
Well, and that 397 has the 10,000 for the wall too.
Yes.
Yes,
Does it? Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So it's 20% plus 10,000, added to their number.
So the way they've done is combine the 217, they take that. It's not, it was,
Danielle makes interesting spreadsheets.
No, she's right. She's totally right.
Finally.
The 10,000 is 40 for this.
yes.
Yeah, but it's in,
It's in
it's
here,
in this number.
in this
I don't-
number.
I don't know why, but.
Middle school facilities, and
Yeah.
then broke out portables.
Right. Yep.
Everything else
Yep.
middle school was.
So 397, I think the second floor at Ms. Tuxet needs to be done.
Yeah, right.
I don't know if anyone has any question or issues about this one? No? Not here, so that's good to go.
Awesome.
And it's gonna be the same thing, what I'm gonna do is we're gonna make a motion, and it'll be, you can spend up to 200,000 on a project, but then we're gonna wanna see
Hard bids.
hard bids for this.
Okay.
Which you
yeah,
may,
that- that-
portables.
Yeah, it is gonna hold the portables up, but,
which you're gonna probably already have, but we wanna see them so that we can just make sure what we approve matches what you've got.
so what I've got from social, or what we've got, what, it's,
We wanna see a hard quote.
okay, okay.
But
No,
you've got,
But you've got
you've got
$200,000.
$200,000 to spend right now
Right.
on the two projects, okay?
Right.
So there's no reason to stop anything.
Right,
And it's get going, but then get hard numbers so that we're sure how that matches up. Because like the rest of the projects in here, we're worried those numbers are going to move one way or the other.
right.
When we get them, are we gonna meet impromptu, quickly?
Yes.
We can do it, we can do a special meeting, we can do a
Right.
normal meeting, whatever time you need, we'll do it, okay? So that's a commitment we'll make. That's not a big deal, but that gives us
Right.
hard numbers that we know what you're spending because I'm starting to get extraordinarily nervous with some of the things we found on other things in town.
Right,
It's like
This
catching a
bond
frog
is
knife.
about a half of what it needs to be,
yeah,
okay? So I'm getting nervous about what the real spends are gonna be. So with every project, you are not unique. We're gonna ask to get hard numbers so that we know what we're spending, so we can look at what's remaining.
okay,
And I think it's gonna erode quicker than we want it to,
right.
unfortunately. So,
So, I mean, at this point, I think we're good, because I just now have to go drive and look at portables. They've got, both companies have got sites in Connecticut, which I've not looked at, but I'll drive, I just want to make.
that can't cost $200,000.
You know, you never know, you never know, you never know.
I know you like to, you know.
Yeah, I just want to move forward and validate now that we've got, you
Yeah.
know, that they are real and,
These are, we've already had an informal vote, we're gonna have a formal vote in a minute, but they've informally been approved, you're good.
okay,
Move forward,
okay, thank you, sir.
okay?
Thank you, everybody. All right.
Now what I will do is, I think that covers all the school parts.
Well, there's a few other things, so that.
Oh, yeah, those, yeah.
Oh, right.
Yeah, those are some big dollars.
Yeah, hey, Steve,
Steve,
come on back.
yeah, fuel tax, fuel tax.
You're never getting out of
I'll
here.
proceed because this wasn't his fault. It's Jim's fault.
Jim
Jim checked, and because insurance issues, we asked to fast track them. So Steve had them nicely broken out in the SIP.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I thought we had it lined
Yeah,
out.
but-
Yeah.
Jim, as an excellent risk manager, realized this was a big liability we do not want to have, and we need to fund these ASAP.
We'll cover them, but $1 million coverage will have a $500,000 deductible.
On underground things,
Risk of,
So basically,
We don't have any.
don't take that risk on,
right?
yeah.
But did the total costs go up substantially, or are they
No.
still?
No, because they were gonna.
Because of the phase?
Yeah,
when
there's
they
gotta be
get-
over.
Yeah, so.
It just consolidated the time.
Yeah, it can, so the basic, the estimate from, service station equipment was 320,000, but I think the total is 360, that was an allotment in case you wanted me to go out to bid and get drawings. Service station equipment is a state, a bid approved company, if they draw the plan up and get the permit, we can.
So we could do a bid waiver.
Yeah, and it would save money. The option's in there, so it would reduce the cost on that. And the other one, service station, gave me the price on two of the removal. I've been asked if we can leave the tanks in the ground. I'm putting something together to say that's not an option right now, sorry. unless we find some sort of constraint why we can say they have to stay in the ground, the state wants them out. So,
So we're gonna spend another 360 on this Tuxet?
Oh, for town property.
Yeah.
No, I know, I'm just, that's the school we're talking about.
Yeah.
yes.
Yep, yep.
No, but it was district office.
That's Ms. Tuxet.
I didn't know if that was the old.
Well,
district
I'm
office.
confused, isn't that?
No, it's
That's
204
old
Miss
district.
Tuxet.
It's 204 is
Miss
this whole
Tuxet.
thing?
Yeah,
Okay.
and the other one, the 72,000 is at Stonington High School.
So
Yeah.
what are we calling the old district office?
204 Miss Tuxet.
Stonington
No,
Middle
the old
School.
no,
one.
in
That's
Old
what that's
Mystic.
what's confusing me.
Oh, 40 Field.
No.
No,
The one in-
Old Miss.
We're calling it the old district office, we missed it.
The rocks.
Okay, but nothing over here for that one.
Old Mystic, yeah, the old Mystic Elementary School, because that's what it was.
Jesus, well, that's too far back for me, but okay.
Yeah.
All right, but we're not talking about that, we're talking about Ms. Tuxet.
Yes, Miss Tuxet is coming out and going above ground. And then the tank at Stonington High School is coming out and we're filling in no more fuel tank.
Right, because we don't need to replace that one, we just need to.
Yeah,
pull and
yeah,
fill.
we're in natural gas building now.
So the state was gonna give us more time at Ms. Tuxet, but the
Yeah.
insurance company won't.
The
No,
company will, but again, each tank we have underground is, we have $1 million policy on it. The deductible for that one tank would be $500,000 for that 10 years. If they,
The insurance
it
company's saying no.
it didn't meet the,
$500,000.
we done the 1,000 foot circumference around the tank.
Yeah, that guy's well and all that.
Yeah, we found that there's actually farm wells on the property behind Miss Tuxet that count as wells that could be converted. They were at 680 feet.
Cut it out.
So,
All right.
yeah, so it failed the inspection.
Okay.
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 All right. Are there any other questions about any of the other A priority on the list from the selectmen? Because I guess you guys all did it.
Yeah, I'm curious about what's going on with the town dock. Is that-
Oh.
That one was not on the list.
So it's like a saga. I'll be brief because it's late. I almost had another emotional breakdown today, but Jim helped me out at about 4:30 today. So we knew from the estimate from DACO that it was going to be more than the 900,000 that we had gotten allocated. So we've been working with our state partners and even the commissioner of DCD, the chair of the Commerce Committee, and then our own state delegation have all been pushing really hard. We even got Congressman Courtney to call the governor and also send a letter of support, which was helpful to try and get this into the Urban Act through like basically bonding. Molly wrote a great proposal. We just won't know how much we put in. Basically, we said we needed somewhere between 600 and 900,000. And based on the estimate we had at the time, the bids came in today, and it's, instead of being a $900,000 project that we thought might be like, again, a bit over there, it's over $2 million. So, but the good news is we had a quick really call. We're Stonington, we know how to be scrappy, so we're gonna put it back out to bid again, and we're going to, after we have to check with the fishermen who are at that dock, it's like the scallop boats and some other lobster boats. But we think we could do, basically put it all out as bid, all like one base bid for just the most essential, which is like the flooring of it, what do they call it, the seawall underneath it.
Seawall shop?
Oh, yeah. And it probably only has like a year or two before they have to like not have scallop boats in Stonington. So we can't let that happen. So,
Well, why can't you let that happen?
because we can't let go of Connecticut's last commercial fishing fleet, in my opinion.
That we bear the brunt of the
That,
cost.
yes, but we,
Do they pay dockage fees or anything else, anybody?
No, they collect dockage fees.
So we provided.
but
They pay
On
us,
boats worth $15 million?
they pay us $25,000.
No, the licenses are worth about $15 million.
for the South one.
We went to the dock to Snuffle,
What's that?
Snuffle, Southern New England.
Snapple?
Yeah, Southern New
Southern
England.
England Lobster and Fishermen
Yeah.
Association.
What
That's
about
who
that?
leases it from us. So again, yeah, some of the boats make money, a lot don't. As you know, they've been through a pretty awful hard time. But
But these are the big boats side, right? That's
yes, that one side. They have about $100,000 in an account that we kind of keep for them. Their roof is going, so we know they have to spend it on that. But I would say, again, let's just focus on the fact, we have 900,000. We believe we can go back out to bid, do the basic floor work that just has to happen for probably within that 900,000. But there's other things I'm not gonna pretend to totally understand, but called dolphins. Has to do with how they anchor up. We think if we could allocate a little bit more, we could at least do those. That was like another essential part. We'd put them all in, basically we'd redo the whole bid package like we did kind of for the boathouse as all bid alternates. So that way we can see if the state comes in and surprises us and gives us, you know, a nice healthy addition, we can do more of what was intended with the project. If not, we could do just the bare minimum. This is, again, this 400,000 is a contingency, if you will, for like, we'll put it back out to bid. We, again, you could say we can't do 400,000 if you give us 3 or 2, like, it'll just keep chipping down to what we can do. But DACO did feel pretty confident today that we could at least do some of the work that was needed for the 900,000, but I would ask.
When do you anticipate getting the new RFP back?
Well, so we got them in today. They said probably within a week, they said they could try and turn around and
Get 'em out in a week.
get them out, but then you have to give people
3 or 4
3 or 4 weeks.
response.
Okay.
It just seems like kind of an arbitrary number, not without any details.
Well, we did that based on, again, we got this information at 4 o'clock today, but we did it based on the estimate that we had gotten. So again, based on the conversation today, I think we could do some of those dolphin work, and then some of the issues they're having with tying up, we could do, we feel like within that 400,000. If you take things, again, like you, to your point, like this is kind of a placeholder, we'd come back to you as soon as the bids came in and say, you know, this is what it came back at, how much are you willing to appropriate? So this is really, again, a placeholder in that 8.8 that we got to.
Right, this is one of those instances where you got $200,000 over that. They gotta come back to us with
It's
firm.
true, it's true. You
And no
apply the
matter-
cherry
Well, I
on.
wouldn't spend the
Yeah.
200
No,
either.
No, and they're not gonna spend the 200.
It's gonna get you a piling.
Yeah.
No matter what, I'm gonna come back. Yeah, well, like, I think, in fairness, I think they said the dolphins are something like 45,000 each, so like we could get a few of the dolphins that are needed. So there are things we can do within, you know, every additional amount gets us more of what we need. So again, but I think, I would think of
The end
this,
result is gonna be like the microfishing thing, where the boats are not gonna tie up there, but we spent the grant money.
no, I
but we
think
still
they
can't tie
they
up.
said no, this will, the most essential work is that seawall, the underground seawall. So the 900,000 will do at least that. It's these other things. So it should buy us a good bit of time. So again,
But wait,
I would
if
just,
we do the
yeah.
$900,000 on the
Yeah.
seawall, and that's what we think it costs?
That's what he's hoping, yes.
Okay, so if it costs $900,000, can they continue to tie up there with just the seawall done?
Yeah, you said you gave us an amount of time, another 4 or 5 years?
4 or 5
something like
years,
that?
yeah.
4 or 5 years for what?
Before the like the pilings start going more,
Yeah.
whatever, that they need the dolphins start. But I think the point is, for tonight and given how late it is, it's like, can we earmark 400,000 as a placeholder? We won't spend a dime of it. We'll come back and obviously talk to you once we get these bids back in like a month.
Well, I would tell you, for myself, you can earmark $400,000, but, and there's a massive but here, we may need it for everything else that's gonna be, you know, way underestimated here.
And you don't know, the state might come through.
Well, they are spending these days, so we might. So,
Well, if you're not gonna make a decision sooner or later, we'll be back here in a month and a half, hopefully.
with numbers,
The new
though.
bids,
Right,
yeah.
right.
Right, but so, I mean, I don't care about putting it in as a placeholder,
Yeah.
because all of this is subject to change, except for the stuff that's necessary to operate the school.
Yeah. So we'll come back, like, and definitely obviously have a deeper conversation with you all about it, probably in a month to 2 months, maybe like August, September. But it would, yeah, and we can talk more in between then, and we'll, again, we haven't gotten to talk to the fishermen who are there because, this just happened, to see what their like top priorities are and like where they could say, to Lynn, to your point, like, what is the impact? Like, you know, we only need this and we can actually deal with the rest of this for the next 5 years, or like, yikes, we really need at least another 150 because we need 6 dolphins, so we need to have that
Well, it seems
conversation.
like we do need like a long-term plan. What are the, what are the
Well,
costs
yeah.
over the next 5 to 10 years to maintain and operate?
A historical artifact, I mean, you know, that they're making money on this and we're paying for everything, fuels, you know, tanks and roofs and, well, they're paying, I guess, for their own roof, but.
They're paying their roof, and they're paying for their own ice machine, we help them get a loan, but they're paying for it. And but again, I think it's a huge asset to the community. I think it's a big economic driver for our restaurants, for like, again, we don't get that money back,
I'm not
but
arguing against that, but I would like to see a plan, like, what do we think
Yeah.
those outlays are gonna be over the next 5 years?
I think it'd be amazing if you guys wanted to maybe have a subcommittee to work with SNEFLA on a long-term plan down there. But we could talk about that when it's not 10 o'clock at night.
Okay,
But
okay.
it would be helpful, Mike, to, I think you and Lynn's point, to have a meeting with the SNEFLA board to talk about that in seriousness.
Is there a waterfront? Probably
What?
I should stay home. Is there a waterfront?
Yes, we have our waterfront commission and they're wonderful.
Yeah.
3 members of SNEFLA sit on it, so I think it would be great to maybe have, waterfront, a few members of the Board of Finance and SNEFLA kind of talk about
Mike
this.
volunteered.
Yeah. You're it. Yeah.
I heard it.
And then,
How many more months
that's probably the biggest change.
I don't care about putting it in there, but I don't know if it'll ever happen.
My goal over the next 3 months will be
Yeah.
Well, it's just gonna be the math of it, right?
All right, I think we spent enough time. Mike, you good with what Daniela said?
I mean, that was the big one.
That was the
Then there
big
was-
change.
That we had
there
no
was-
discussion on really
Yeah.
prior to that.
Or human services HVAC, that's.
So this might get them the brain, so that way, like, we can see, the system could start communicating to each other, the way I understand it, and then there is a chance that that will make it good enough that we won't have to do the full work, so that's why that's in phase 1. There's a chance that could work. So we'll do that first, and then if not, we'll come back to you, but I think to all of your points, all these costs are going up, so.
Well, yeah, and there's 2 other things to discuss in here, because phase 1 doesn't look horrible, but the recreation field is another 400 grand, and the basketball court's another $500,000.
Yeah, for phase 2.
Yes, but it,
Yeah. And those are things that could be obviously conversations about phase 2 when we see where the bridges come in. They might also be things that we come and advocate for, like during the SIP. And we obviously always keep looking for grants. We also, on a plus, I did hear they're issuing another round of STEEP grants. North Stonington got like 3, Ledger got 1 for a different play, sort of recreation facility. So our goal is maybe to try and put this in if we get feedback that that's something they're still looking for in the next round of STEEP grants. We did find out we did not get money for the Route 1 sidewalk that's in the bond. I noted that we'd applied for that grant. That came out this week. We did not get that. The Route 1 sidewalk gap.
Any reason?
Oh, no,
probably the
it's
cost
just a
for
mystery.
50 feet.
Yeah.
What?
Probably the cost for 50 feet. So, okay, so that's another 450 grand for us to do it entirely.
Yes, and that engineering work is almost done. And the property owners have been amazing. A lot of changes to their property.
It's about 100 yards, right, it needs to be.
It's like the 3 properties, yeah, right across from
So if they're gonna do the
Walgreens, that really narrow
$200,000 limit on
section.
this, we're basically committing to these things.
It's
I don't know.
pretty much useless.
I mean, a $200,000 limit on something that's gonna cost $400,000 is, once that's,
Well, I think there's a way we can do it.
What are you concerned about? Can I help?
what am I complaining about?
No, concerned about.
How long do you have?
You said you wanted to be here till 1, I mean, you know.
We're on our way.
Concerned about.
It's- Did you want to know what I was talking about?
Yeah.
Well, I was talking about the $200,000 against a project of $400,000, because
Which
once
one?
that money is sunk,
The
we're
sidewalk.
obviously not gonna say, sorry,
Which one are we talking about?
for
Sidewalk.
anything, sidewalks,
Well, it depends what.
recreation
The
field.
sidewalk one.
You're asking us to commit
engineering's
now
already
for phase
underway. So.
The what?
The sidewalk one, the engineering's already underway.
Yeah, but you need more money for it now, right?
To actually
So
go and
basically,
actually
we're,
physically do it.
right, so
And again, we'll come to you and say, hey, the engineering's done, this is how much the actual project.
that's my point though. So, oh, the project is $450 and we spent $150, or, you know, whatever it is.
That's kind
You're
of how-
basically
Yeah. They
extorting
probably have
us
to-
for phase 2.
That was the goal though with these items though, in fairness, like, yes.
It's a great report.
I'm not trying to blackmail you, but.
Extort was better.
You know, extortion at the highest level is, you know, we did, I
Chief,
think.
what do you guys pump into this room? Clearly, we don't have the same air as the school. It's gotta be nitrous or something coming in here.
I'm just saying.
But the only projects in here are things that we vetted and talked about, and I think you heard from people coming and talking about the need for, we have 1 basketball court in town, the need for the rec field. We had so many people come out during the budget hearing advocating for that. So we didn't throw in like my wish list of projects. You'll notice like the other engineering for sidewalks is all the way at the bottom.
Yeah,
It's
all I'm
just,
trying to say is, if we say yes to this list,
Yes.
okay, you understand that if things like bridges cost twice as much as we think, or something else does, or whatnot, that though we're saying yes,
Yeah.
and we may have sunk money into the yes, we may not be able to do it, right? 'Cause
I
we're-
would say like what we've tried to say to people to like, obviously show you guys have a really hard job is to not set expectations. So for like the fields and the basketball court as an example, we've said, this is a priority, we want to get it done, we're gonna hopefully be asking for money to get to phase 1, so we know exactly what we're working with, then we can also be looking at grants and other things. We have it in phase 2, but again, if the bridges come back, they're the top driver for this, we would then need to change our advocacy to be the SIP. And again, that might happen year 1, 2, 3, depending on what we're up against. So I think we've been trying to set people's expectations fairly.
Well, I just want to say yours.
I'm gonna have a total meltdown. But yeah, no, I think we've been trying to do that in fairness to you all.
So I do have a question on what the other way. So how did we value engineer the town hall parking lot from
Oh, yeah.
over 400,000?
That was Public Works pure genius. So they took out all my dreams of rain gardens, I'm not even kidding, of rain gardens and like beautiful drainage, and they actually made the good point that like, if that's not the most ideal place to do them. It really is like up here where it goes into Wickety Quack. So, they took out that work, and again, we were also trying to meet the ARPA criteria, which is why we had all that drainage work in there at the time. So we took that out, and then Public Works decided there was a number of items they could do in-house. And then they feel like they could actually like do this fall under, right away.
Third of the cost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we're getting just like the not nice curbing, not granite curbing, just like whatever it is. So that's not great, but we can, as long as we have a parking lot that doesn't have gaping holes.
Right, but you're still getting a
Yeah,
safe.
a safe
effective,
parking lot.
Yeah, it's a reliable parking
Yeah.
lot. So,
Okay.
So these things are in motion already, like the sidewalks and the parking lot for the town hall?
Town hall parking lot isn't underway really yet, but it's something we've been talking about since I think I was on the Board of Finance.
Decided that these are the top priority. I know it's supposed to be the finance board and.
The Board of Selectmen have set.
But I've not been in.
Well, David, these are the same projects that when we were talking about how to get to the 15.5 million, all of these are the same projects except for the town dock and Collins Road. All of these were what we talked
And the
about. What?
Boathouse Park.
And Boathouse Park. All of these were what?
Recreation field?
No, those are in there. No, those are definitely in there. Somebody can vouch for me if they want to.
Let's look at column C. Column C were all the ones.
Yeah, if you see in column C,
the
especially, it shows what we'd estimated for the bond versus what we're now estimating. But they were all in there. And then what we did was meet with all the department heads to really prioritize, try and tighten up numbers, and then present them back to the Board of Selectmen and to you all. But it is what we talked about, except for those 3 expensive
Before we
extras.
started talking about the bond, most of these were in SIP. So
Yes.
Yeah.
That's true. Jim did an amazing spreadsheet where he pulled out all the things where he said, bondable, and we went through those.
Right.
So that's where like the boiler, yeah, that's a good point, and some of those other ones came from.
None of these, some notable exceptions, none of these are new. They've been contemplated for years.
Right, if we get to do all of them, it's because we're having a depression.
Yeah. All right, so
It's possible.
what I would suggest is I get a motion to approve the list of projects to bond as submitted by the first selectman, as submitted by the Board of Selectmen for the A projects with a stipulation that they can spend up to $200,000 per project, and anything over that needs to come back with a formal application and quote to the Board of Finance. And if there is anything that comes in over 20% of over the contingency that's in here, that we have to review that so that we're set on what the actual spend is.
So moved.
Second.
A motion from Bill, second from Chris. Is there any further discussion on this?
No.
All right, hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? All right, that unanimously passes.
Thank you.
democracy, look at it.
You're biased. There's democracy at its finest. Discussion about possibly recording and broadcasting Board of Finance meetings. As you all will notice, it is being recorded right now, and it is just being recorded, and it will be put on the town's YouTube channel. Danielle?
We have a YouTube channel?
Yeah.
Is that where we watch the Board of Ed meetings?
No, they have their own.
You can watch the charter meetings.
Okay, we can't, you gotta let me get through this agenda, okay? So, we've worked it out, it's the same gentleman is doing Board of Selectmen meetings, and so these will just be recorded, they are not interactive. So there is no ability to call in, there is no ability to live stream. These are gonna be, we don't have that ability right now. So these will just be recorded and put out afterwards. So we're gonna see how this one goes, and we're gonna keep going from there. The bigger the room, the harder the audio is. So we're gonna see how it goes, and we'll try it. Okay? Next item on the agenda, can I get a motion to approve the previous minutes, the May 7th, 2025 regular meeting?
Second.
Motion Lynn, second Bill. Any discussion, correction, addenda to the minutes? I'm just looking at Mike.
Yeah, no, I like that. Jim's doing an excellent job.
All right, hearing none, all in favor of approving them as submitted, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? All right, that unanimous.
Tim, can I just go back to the filming of this?
Yeah.
Are we gonna promote this somewhere, or this is now available? Because people have been asking about this.
Yes,
So how are we
we're
gonna
working
let
on how we're gonna put that out publicly, and we also kind of want to see how this one goes.
Okay,
Because I don't want to overpromise and under-deliver.
okay. This is great, being able to do this. Hopefully it works.
We're trying.
Yeah, that's good.
I assume we're at a reasonable cost?
Very, too
Yes.
reasonable.
Too reasonable, okay.
Not reasonable enough, Mike. Thanks, Mike. Next item on the agenda is correspondence. You all received all of the emails supporting the funding for the portables. That was the only correspondence that I remember, Jim. Was there one for something else?
There was one for something else.
Was it boathouse?
There's a boathouse.
Boathouse, yeah, that's right.
Second page of my agenda here, so.
Yeah, there's one for the boathouse.
There's a boathouse.
Yeah, support the money for the boathouse.
Yes.
Yep. And there was also correspondence asking about the recording of meetings. So that is all the correspondence that we received. Liaison reports, SIP liaison report,
No report?
WPCA.
No report.
Tim, can I, about the person that asked about recording the meetings and so forth, the email, will we contact, or you contact her and let her know?
Jim and I will contact that person when this is available and we have a link to put it out.
Yep.
Was that email in our correspondence?
No. That was a separate one. That was not a true correspondence. That was a request that Jim and I were going through. Board of Ed, liaison.
We had it all.
MRBPIC.
Yep.
We finally got all the letters in.
Well, yeah, pretty much, I took notes and everything at the last meeting, but you pretty much hashed it all out tonight. There's really not a lot more than I can add to it. They are hiring someone to oversee this. To oversee the implementation and coordination of the entire project. Now, Danielle, has that person been hired yet?
Yeah, he started already, and he was a big part of kind of the decision to do the bids broken out this way and how to work on how to do that. So already saved us a good bit of money. And it was way cheaper than the firm we were gonna do.
Yeah, mentioned July 9th, hopefully it's gonna be groundbreaking, if all goes well. And, gonna have to come up with a committee now to decide how the town's gonna run this, the town portion of it, whether it's through the recreation department, Bill was at the meeting too. So, but it's moving forward, and, things look good. I don't know if it's because I was put on the committee. I mean, it just seems to be taking off since I came on the committee. It's all right, I needed some levity. Oh, okay.
Where were you 10 years ago?
Yeah. And I will not be in the picture when you put the shoulder. I don't deserve it.
Grants manager report quarterly only.
Yeah, at the end of June, you'll get it.
At the end of June, okay. Okay, so we don't have anything there. Any other liaison reports?
Just quickly, federal tax collector fiscal year is coming to a close, but we are in good shape in collection. I mean, almost identical to where we were at this point last year. 99.57 on real estate, which is
That's the
obviously
mistake.
and we were 99.61 at this point last year, so we're within a few hundredths. So, okay, I mean, same delivery as last year, which is great.
Thank God.
Yeah.
And then the other one that I had was the retirement board did meet, and basically there's no action items at this point, but everyone is struggling to understand what the markets are going to do. So the recommendation of our advisors is hang tight, don't do anything at this point. And we're one of the more conservative towns in Connecticut for assumed rate of return.
Which is what?
Which 6.375.
Who handles that, Tim?
Who handles which?
The funds for the retirement?
Fiducian is our advisor.
Yeah.
Well, not Wells Fargo, the principal is the custodian, trustee.
Well, depends on which one you're talking about. FIA.
Fiducian.
Yeah.
Fiducian now.
Yeah, sorry, they've been bought. No, they were before. They're fiducian now.
That's a pretty low bar, pretty soon we'll be the 10-year. So it was very conservative.
I know. So they're our advisor, and they got a staff that looks at who everybody is who's managing each fund, whether it be from BlackRock or Global or blah, 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 blah.
What's been the rate of return latest?
Average
over the last 5 years or whatever? Just curious.
We're running right about 8.5%, 9%. But our assumed rate of return, well, this is on the pension plan, and our assumed rate of return is.
I'm assuming it's more conservative, probably.
Yeah, because the last 5 years have been pretty challenging to look at, because you got COVID in there, you've got some bouncing we got going on right now, so you got to take a longer look. But we're doing well compared to our peers, so we're not overburdening.
What's the percentage of it being funded at this point?
I'd have to look that up. I don't want to tell you without looking it up and give you a wrong. We're in, compared to the other towns in Connecticut, we're in very good shape.
Between 85 and 90%.
Yeah, I was going to say 87, but we're somewhere in the 80s right now, only because of market downturns.
The market?
So,
I think the people.
all right. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Bill, second, Deb.
Bill, I think you got every.
We are adjourned.
I think the people.